sesifikile.
Thank you, Honorable Nkomo. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I wish to thank Honorable Nkomo for the question. In fact, it is a request. We have received requests of that nature to the effect that parents and guardians are requesting that the deadline for the Zimbabwe School examinations for November 2026 be extended. Honorable Speaker, after making some consultations, I'm pleased to announce that the November 2026 public examinations deadline for registration will be extended from 27 March 2026 to 22 May 2026. We encourage that the centers that had collected registration fees should proceed and deposit the fees with the Zimbabwe School examinations banking institution, so that it does not disrupt the preparations for the examinations, for the November 2026 examinations. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Joupi.
Ndatenda mubati wechigaro. Ndinoda kutenda zvikuru mhinduro yatapuwa naHonorable Minister vedu. Aiwa zvakanaka zvakanyanyisa. Asi tiri ipapo ndanga ndichida kuti kumbirazve kana kukubvunza kuti mutemo wakataurwa kuti vanoda kunyora tiri pama examination ipapo kunyora vanozi ma subjects A level arambe ari matatu. A level rirambe ri matatu. Dai ameno kuti panga pane kakuchema kamwe kendakaonawo kari kuchema vanhu vachidai anga aita kana 4 kuita kuti pamwe ukatadzawo rimwe iri akaramba ari matatu pamwe rimwe rechitatu raindigozhera. Handizivi kuti mutemo ungagona kugadziriswa here kuti pamwe aitewo mana. At least Madam Speaker ndokumbirawo kuprotectwa.
May we have order, honorable members.
Thank you very much. Ndopendanga ndichifunga asi kuti ndakatadza hangu kunzwa ndakafunga kuti kwakazi matatu vanga vabhadhara 5 kana vanga vabhadhara 5 kana 8 vachadzorerwa mari. Ini ndanga ndichikumbira zvangu kuti dai waro aita kana mana chete.
Mazvita Honorable Minister.
Ndoda kutora mukana uno kukutendai mubati wechigaro. Ndichitenda zvakare Honorable Jo nemubvunzo wavasimudza. Mubati wechigaro kuti munhu aende awane nzvimbo kuuniversity anotariswa kuti akapasa zvakadii pazvidzidzo zvitatu pamasubjects matatu. Asi takuona kuti pane dambudziko, vana vakunyora masubjects 12 vachizvipedzera nguva vachiita masubjects akawandisa. Ndosaka takauya nemutemo mubati wechigaro kuti vana paform 4 vanofanira kunyora masubjects asingapfuuri mapfumbamwe kurati 9. Paform 6 takati isusu vananga vanyore 3 subjects asi tinovatendera kunyora kuti asapfuura 4. Tinovabvumidza kuti asapfuura 4. Tatenda.
Tatenda.
Supplementary.
Supplementary Honorable Makumbe.
Tinotenda bato wechigaro. Mubvunzo wangu wekuwedzera ndokuti ndoda kuziva kuti ministry ine urongwa hupi pavana vanenge vaine zvikwereti kuzvikoro zvavari vorambidzwa kuregister kuti vanyore bvunzo dzavo dze-O level kana kuti A level. Mazvita.
Mazvita, Honorable Minister.
Ndinotenda mubati wechigaro ndichitenda Honorable vasimudza mubvunzo. Takawana kugunun'una kubva muzvikoro mubati wechigaro kunyanya vhiki iro rino iri nerapfuura redzimwe nhubu dzinotungamirira zvikoro. Mari yekunyora bvunzo muna November hainei nechikwereti chine mwana. Saka isusu tiri kukurudzira kuti kune vari kuita izvozvo kune vatakatowana maripotsi echikoro chiri muno muHarare kukuwadzana kuti takatotumira vanhu kunoranga nhubu iyoyo. Saka ichandokurudzira kuna vasimudza mubvunzo, tipei chikoro chacho, munongonyora chipepa motondipa nhasi unoyi, mangwana makuseni totosvika ipapo, nekuti vane vachityora kodzero dzevana kuvarambidza kuti varejese. Tatenda.
Tinotenda. Supplementary Honorable Tafana Nasho.
Mazvita, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Honorable Minister, mungatsanangura mudare rino kuti vanhu vanzwisise kunze uko kuti iwo ma-examination fees akambomira sei, because pakamboita discord previously kuti maererano nemari dzacho dzobhadharwa pa-O level nepa-A level. Mazvita enyu.
Mazvita, Honorable Minister.
Mubati wechigaro ndinotenda Honorable Show. Ndinodayira kuti vakanga vasimo pandakabvunzwa mubvunzo uyu. Asi zvisinei mubati wechigaro ngaende vapindure. Dzokororo ine simba. Takati isusu mubati wechigaro mwana anorejesta ari muchikoro chehurumende, pachikoro chehurumende tikutarisa chingava chemishoni, chekanzuru nechegovernment, asiri maprivate. Paform 4 vanobhadhara $11, kureva kuti hurumende inoisa mari yekubatsira 14, kureva kuti examination fees yachona inenge iri 25. Hurumende inoisa 55% yemari yemasubsidies. Saka ndo urongwa huripo. Masubsidies anobata kubva grade 7, form 4, form 6. Asi ma-private candidates nevaya vanodzidza kuzvikoro zvemari vembozha vaya, nema-private schools nema-independent colleges, mari iyoyo havasi kupiwa masubsidies nehurumende. Tatenda.
Tinotenda. New question, Honorable Makope.
Mazvita, mubati wechigaro. Mubvunzo wangu unoenda kugurukota rinoona nezvekurima. Pane chirwere chinobata mombe chiri kutapudza danga renyika chinonzi January disease nechirungu chemunandira ichi. Charamba chichingotekeshera chichionekwa pakasiyana siyana. Tanga mubvunzo wangu kuna minister ndokuti vava papi
maringe nokugadzira nhomba iya yekuti tikabaya mombe tobva tadzivirira chirwere kana kuti yatingati vaccine zvavakamboita kune zvimwe zvirwere vana lump skin vana foot and mouth nezvimwe zvakadaro. Tatenda.
Tinotenda. Honorable Minister.
Ndinotenda chose mubati wechigaro nomubvunzo wakanangana nokuchengetedza mombe dzedu. Ngatiti zviripo zvakati wandei zvotinokwanisa kuita kuti dzivirire chirwere chinonzi January disease. Ngotanga kungochinzwisisa chete kuti chirwere chandira ichi chaidero noda kuti madari eng'ombe anofambisa chirwere ichi anowanda nguva yemvura. Saka potinowana mvura isu kusvika muna November December madari anenge awanda ndopaanozonobata ng'ombe dzozorwara muna January, ndopakabva January disease. Asi ezvino nemashandukiro ari kuita mamiriro okuzhe January disease yakutowanikwa kana muna March kana muna April. Saka chirwere chatakutarisira kuti tinge tichichidzivirira nguva dzose. Saizvozvo hazvichangogoni chete kuti timiririre mhando imwe yokudzivirira chirwere ichi. Ndosaka tichiti tinotanga isu nepaya patiri kupa pour-on kana tick grease kuimba yoga yoga ine ng'ombe pachirongwa chiya chatinoti presidential bliss tick grease program. Tozoita chirongwa chokuti mukunaya kwemvura mukugovera woga woga kana vhiki yoga yoga chibva nenzvimbo tinofanira kuendesa ng'ombe dzedu kudhibha kuti dzinodhibha. Kana tangowana nzvimbo ine chirwere ichi taakutoti pachirungu yatinoti 554 kureva kuti hatichaiti pamazuva 9 taakuita mazuva 5 todzokorora todhibhisa mazuva 5 todzokorora mazuva 4 kuti inonzi intensive dipping kuti tinge tichidzivirira. Asi ndo rwendo rwokutanga kunyatsodzivirira zvirwere zvese zvinoitwa nemadari nezvimwe zvakadero. Asi nokuona kuti zviri kuramba zvichienderera mberi, madhibha vanenge achioma, mvura yaita shoma, ngatichitsvaga tiongorore kuti chimwe chatingabatsira nacho chii. Ndosaka takauya nejekiseni rinonzi Bolvac, ndo inonzi vaccine. Bolvac takatanga muna 2021 2022 taikwanisa kuva na 25,000 doses dzatakagadzira ise hurumende. Ndobva tachiinda kumatunhu 25 25 districts dzinowanikwa chirwere ichi chakati wandei kuti tinobaya ng'ombe tione kuti chinoshanda zvakadii. Tikaona kuti kana tabaya ng'ombe inobva yadzivirirwa kubva kuchirwere ichi kweupenyu hwose. Saka yezvino taakuvandudza kugadzira jekiseni iri. Mwaka uno tiri kutarisira kuti tinosvika pa300,000 majekiseni iwayo tichipa ng'ombe imwe imwe ichichengetedzwa upenyu hwose. Shuviro yedu zvikwanisiro zvichiuya zvakakwana, tinofungidzira kuti kuna 2028 kusvika muna 2030 tinenge takukwanisa kuwana zvinosvika kuda kuma500,000 kuti pamwero wemakore 5 makore 10 tinge tabaya ng'ombe dzose. Saka ndo zvatiri kuita kuti tikwanise kudzivirira. Asi chirega nditore mukana uno kuti ndikotsvekedze chose varidzi vanhu vane ng'ombe kuti paviri hurumende inouya ichivaka madhibha yobva yatsvaga mudhibhisi yozobetserawo nemari yokutenga dhibha. Asi isu varidzi veng'ombe pagore roga roga tinosungirwawo kuti tibhadhare madhora 2 kuti tibatsirane hurumende kuti tichengetedze ng'ombe dzedu. Ndatenda chaizvo.
Tinotenda. Supplementary Honorable
Mureyani.
Chuma.
Maita basa mubato wechigaro. Maita basa mubato wechigaro. Mubvunzo wangu wokuwedzera kuna Honorable Minister ndewokuti nditange ndichitenda neurongwa hwavatsanangura hunozama nepavanogona napo kuti mombe dzichengetedzeke. Asi ndiri kuti dambudziko ratinoona iri rezvikwekwe zvinoruma mombe dzichizoita January disease rinokonzerwawo nekuti dzimwe nguva kumadhibha kwedu mishonga inenge isingakwani, isingawanikwi nenguva dzakafanira, saka ngombe dzinozotora nguva dzisina kudhibha nekuti varimi kunenge kusina dhibha. Urongwa hupi hwamunahwo Minister kuti dhibha iri richipewo muZimbabwe sezvarinoita kune dzimwe nyika? Tikaenda paZambia pa 5 liters yedhibha, indiri murimi, rinoita mari inosvika kana $20, asi muno muZimbabwe rikaenda kuFarm and City kune madhibha ari kuita $80, $100. Saka tinoona izvozvo zvichinge zvichigwadza zvichiomera zvikuru varimi, nekuti $100 kutenga ma5 liters maviri adova mari yeng'ombe. Saka tachitiwo ndezvipi zvavangaita kuti vapinze kana iwo makambani anokutengesera kunze ikoko atengeserewo muno zvirerukire varimi vedu. Maita basa.
Mazvita. Honorable Minister.
Chose mubati wechigaro ndichitenda nomubvunzo uyu. Noda kuti tikwanise kudhibhisa, tinokwanisa kuvatsvaga mari yokutenga dhibha racho nenguva kuti tigodhibhisa. Mubvunzo uyu wangaifana kuuya zvavo kuna Minister weIndustry and Commerce. Ndo vanoita basa rokugadzira madhibha, isi toita basa rokuti ng'ombe dzivepo dzakawanda. Asi ve-Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe vanova kubazi rezveutano ndo vanonyora makambani, ndo vanopa mvumo kumakambani anotengesa mishonga yoga yoga, kungava yezvipfuwo ingava yedu. Saka tinongovakurudzira kuti vatarise kuti vamwewo vanoda kupinda mubhizinesi iri, vanoona kuti vanokwanisa kuita mari, vauye vakwanise kutengesa kuti varimi vakwanise kuwana zvine mutengo wakaderera. Hurumende haina muono wokuti ipindire, inoita yapachirungu inonzi price control. Hurumende fungidziro dzayo ndeyokuti tinofana kuti ivo vari mubhizinesi vanofana kuonawo kuti vawana mari yeraramo yavo asi vasingaiti zvokutema nedemo. Ndozvotingangokurudzira, asi tichatarisawo Minister weIndustry and Commerce, Minister weHealth nesu vebazi rezvokurima kuti tione kuti tingabatsira sei, tiite ongororo yakati dzikei kuti mishonga yacho yataurwa kuti kuZambia nokuno tingaiwana sei, tingabatsira sei kuti mishonga iyi ikwanise kutengwa nemutengo wakaderera, kuti vanhu vazhinji vakwanise kudhibhisa ng'ombe dzavo nenguva, kuti zvirwere zvatiri kutaura izvi zvigodererera. Tenda mubati wechigaro.
Supplementary
Mazvita. Supplementary Honorable Mureyani.
Maita basa mubati wechigaro. Mubvunzo wangu wekuwedzeredza kuna Minister unoti ndeupi urongwa huri kuitwa nehurumende kudzivirira veruzhinji kubva mukutengeserwa nyama mumabhucha inenge ichibva kuvarimi vanenge vaine mombe dzasangana neutachiwana hweJanuary disease uyu. Mazvita.
Honorable Minister.
Ndotenda chose hurumende nesu tose tinosungirwa kuti tive vanhu vano utano, zvinoreva kuti tofanira kuti chikafu chatinowana chinge chakachena. Hurumende inoti pamutemo Public Health Act, isusu woku bazi rezvokurima tine Department reVeterinary Services vanofambawo kumaabatwa, zvinoreva kunouraya ng'ombe kuya kwakapuwa mvumo yokuti dziurayiwe. Ezvino hatinawo, hatiri kutarisa munyika yose, anoita 160 160 maabatwa totarisa vhiki nevhiki kuti zvirwere zvirikutaurwa izvi zviripo here. Asi tinoziva kuti vazhinji makoronyera, ng'ombe idzodzo hadziuyi neikoko, ing'ombe dzinongourawa pamwe dzongotengeswa, kana kuti munhu iyeye anenge asina kumirira kuti vanhu vomutemo vauye vatarise ng'ombe iyoyo vagopa chidhindo chokuti ng'ombe iyi yakachena, inokwanisa kuti vanhu vakwanise kuirya pasina chinosanganiswa nacho. Isu chatinokurudzira ndichokuti dai tikatenga hedu isu kuuya kune vaya vanenge vane mabhuchari vanozikanwa kuti zvidhindo izvi zvapfuura neikoko, isuwo tiri kutarisa ezvino kuti panei paita zvirwere zvose tinoita iya inonzi quarantine, kureva kuti tinorambidza kuti mombe dzinobva munzvimbo iyoyo dzifambe kuti dziinde kune imwe nzvimbo, tichitarisira isu kuti varimi vanenge vachitibetsera, varidzi vemombe, kuti patinenge tati taisa mazuva makumi mapfumbamwe 3 months patei tati tawana FMD, tawana chirwere cheJanuary disease, saka mombe dzese dziri pamadhibha apa ngadziuye tidzibaye dzisingafamba dzisanosangana nedzimwe, kuti tirambe tichitarisa zvotei tichibatsirwa izvozvo nehurumende kuti tikwanise kuti dzigare ikoko dzisasangana nedzimwe, uye kuti idzo dzisaurawa kuti dzigoenda kunozopinda kuti vanhu vakwanise pamwe vanotenga nyama isina kutariswa, isina kuvhenekwa, isina kuongororwa kuti yakachena here kuti iryiwe navanhu. Ndatenda.
Tinotenda. Supplementary Honorable Mangondo.
Ndotenda mubato wechigaro. Ndoda kutenda nemhinduro dzapuwa naminista. Supplementary yangu yakanangana nechirwere chefoot and mouth disease chatekeshera munzvimbo dzakawanda svondo rakapera. Goromonzi inongo yomuHarare yakatoiswa pakati kwequarantine. Ndobvunza kuti zvii zvikuitwa kuti chirwere chefoot and mouth disease chisaramba chichitekeshera, ngekuti chashungurudza varimi vachakwanisa kutengesa kana kufambisa mombe dzavo nezvimwe zvipfuyo zvavo mazvita.
Tinotenda. Honorable Minister.
Wechigaro ndotenda nomubvunzo uyu. Ya, tapo takaitaura zveJanuary disease, tataura foot and mouth disease. Foot and mouth disease chirwere chakafanana neJanuary disease pakuti zvirwere izvi pamutemo weWorld Animal Health Organization yatakatenderana nyika dzose dzepasi rese, ndokuti kana changowanikwa tokwanisa kuvanyorera kutaura kuti nzvimbo yakati muZimbabwe, nzvimbo yakati muSouth Africa, nzvimbo yakati muNamibia. Chirega ingotanga nokutaura dunhu redu rokuno kuchamhembe kweAfrica kuti nyika dzese 10 dzava nechirwere ichi. Chazangosiyana ndichokuti kuna anonzi chirwere ichi chine mabandiko akasiyana-siyana anonzi maserotypes. Saka isusu tine inonzi yedu yeSADC 1, 2, 3, vamwe vane chimwe chinonzi O zvakadero. Saka zvatinoita izvino muZimbabwe ndipo kuti tikangowana pane mombe dzabatwa nechirwere cheFMD, tinoti mombe idzodzo hadzifaniri kufamba kusvika tatora ropa remombe iyoyo tizive kuti chirwere ichi ndechipi, asi tozouyazve tichibaya jekiseni. Jekiseni rinofanira kubayiwa ruviri, kwokutanga tozodzoka kwapera vhikina tozobayazve, tozombomira tozodzoka toona kuti chirwere chabuda here. Ezvino zvirwere zvese zvefoot and mouth, fanika chokugoromonzi ichi chabuda nokuda kwokuti tabuda isu mugwara savarimi rokuti tichengetedze zvatataura izvi, kuti kana kwaita chirwere mombe ngadzigare ikoko dzisabuda dzisanopomera dzimwe. Chirwere chefoot and mouth ndo matapurirwo achinoitwa kubva kune imwe nzvimbo kuinda kune imwe nzvimbo. Saka ndokumbirisa chose kuvarimi, kana tati nzvimbo iyi yainzi placed under quarantine for 90 days, ngatitevedzere mutemo iwoyo kuti chirwere ichi tikwanise kuchikunda. Tikangowana nhubu dzinoti usiku ndakubudisa ng'ombe dzangu nokoko ndonotengesa, mukufamba imomo mhuka dzose dzina mahwanda dzinobata chirwere ichocho. Saka ndinachikumbirisa kuti tine mushonga wakakwana wokuti tiinde kunzvimbo dzaputika chirwere ichi, asi toda rubatsiro rwavarimi kuti tikwanise kukunda chirwere ichi, tigori tichirambe chichidzikira. Tataita zvakanaka chose seZimbabwe, tatodarika dzimwe nyika zhinji dziri mudunhu rino kudzivirira chirwere ichi, asi toda kuramba takabatana kuti tichikunde. Ndatenda.
Tinotenda mazvita. Honorable Tsvangirai.
Sorry, I just want your indulgence on the subject here, January disease. Just to say something to the minister that to the effect that we I went to Uganda. I went to Uganda about last year with other government officials, and we discovered that there is a medicine for January disease, which is actually written Zimbabwe thriosis, which costs about 25 cents for a dose for you to save your cattle. But when you come here, the drug they are using today costs $50 which is very expensive. But we have that drug which costs only 25 cents a sachet, and it's enough to cure a cattle. Can't we acquire that? Because it looks like it was studied from the disease that is giving us problems in Zimbabwe.
Honorable Minister.
Ndinotenda chose mubati wechigaro, ndichitenda nomubvunzo wakada kufanana newambobvunzwa, wokuti mitengo yemishonga yeng'ombe tingaiwana sei nemari yepazasi yokuti tokwanisa kutenga tigorapa ng'ombe dzedu zvakakwana. Chiregai ndibate chataurwa izve January disease. Ndichokuti ezvino tiri kubetsera Zimbabwe iri mberi chose pakuita utsvagurudzo nokukwanisa kuita mishonga yatinoti mavaccine eng'ombe. Ndosaka tine vaccine iyo yeJanuary disease. Vaccine iyo yeJanuary disease hatikwanisi, ezvino tiri kubaya ng'ombe dzeZimbabwe mahara patiri kubaya vaccine yeBolvac. Hapana murimi ari kunzi ngaabhadhare. Chatiri kuda chete imari yakati wandei kubva kuparliament kuya kubazi tigadzire mishonga yakawanda, tinobaya ng'ombe mahara. Ava vatakapa nokuda kwokuti vakaona kuti mushonga wedu unoshanda, ivo bazi rokwavo rakada kufanana nerokuno rinonzi Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe ndio rinenge rakapa mvumo. Isi kuno taane makore gore nemwedzi yakati taisa chikumbiro Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe kuti itipe mvumo kuti tisvike paya pachirungu inonzi commercialization. Nokuda kuti pachirungu tinofanira kuita inonzi proof of concept kuti mushonga unoshanda here. Tavataridza kuti unoshanda pamakore ataita. Saka taakuda kuti zvino mushonga uyu ngauchiwanikwa kuti munhu wese akwanise kutenga. Ndo patakamirira kubva kuMCAS. Kana zvangoitwa saizvozvo, varimi vachaona kuti avo vane zvikwanisiro kuda ma A2 nevamwe vakadero, tichiti pamuripo uri pasi pasi munokwanisa kutenga Bolvac yenyu. Asi avo vari munzvimbo kana kumaruwa votofungidzira kuti vanofanira kuramba vachibatsirwa nehurumende tenge richibaya ng'ombe dzavo mahara. Saka zvatiri kutarisira kuti nguva pfupi iri kutevera tinenge taakutenderwa sebazi reveterinary kuti tikwanise kuti mushonga uyu uwanikwe kwese kwese muZimbabwe. Ndatenda chaizvo.
Ndatenda. Honorable Tsvangirai.
Maita basa mubati wechigaro, maswera sei? Mubati wechigaro, munhu zvake wemuZimbabwe anoda mari inosvika $900 USD kuti akwanise kurarama zvakanaka. Asi vanhu vazhinji kunyanya vashandi vegovernment vakaita semanesi, maticha, vakuwana mari iri pasi pe$300. Tichitarisa musiyano mukuru pamwe nekukwira kwe-cost of living mubati wechigaro, hurumende iri kutora matanho api kuti vavhare mukaha uri pakati pemari inowanikwa kuti yaunowana paunoshanda neinodiwa kuti urarame? Ndatenda.
Tinotenda. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Wechigaro, ndichitenda Honorable Tsvangirai nomubvunzo wakanaka chaizvo. Ishuviro hurumende kuti vanoishandira vapuwe mubayiro unomwero unokwanisa kuraramisa mhuri dzavo, mwero uri pamusoro. Tinoziva kuti gurukota rezvebazi rinotarisa nevashandi vehurumende vakambouya muno vakataura ivo kuti pane zvinhu zviviri zviri kuitwa. Chokutanga, pakaitwa tsvagurudzo ongororo yokuti vashandi vehurumende kubva panguva yataita yosei mumwe nomumwe ari pachinhano chakafanira here. Ndobva vazonzizve tozotarisa nokuti vangawedzerwa mari yakadini maringewo nokudhura kuri kuita zvinhu, cost of living adjustment. Ndo zvinhu zviviri zvavaimirira kuti zviitike. Zvinhu izvi zvaitika. Saka nhasi namangwana tichanzwa paanobudisa nonga gwaro iroro ratobuda nhasi kuti pakwanise kuti vashandi vehurumende vasvitswa pakadini. Saka tikamirira ipapo tozotanga kubvunzana mubvunzo kuti tasvitswa here patari tichifungidzira. Ndatenda chaizvo.
Supplementary.
Tinotenda.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Ropa.
Tinotenda mubati wechigaro nokundipa mukana wokuti ndibvunze mubvunzo wokuwedzera. Mubati wechigaro, takaona isu vakoti muzvipatara zvehurumende vachiratidzira vaine zvinyorwa zvairatidza kuti kunyangwe kuti vatenge zvipfeko zvomukati havachakwanisi zvakare kuinda kubasa, zvichiratidza kuti vakanga vambokanda mapfumo pasi pakuindira mberi nebasa muzvipatara zvehurumende. Mubvunzo wangu wokuwedzera ndokuti matanho api atorwa nehurumende kuti ava vanga vachiratidzira vachitsutsumwa kushomeka kwemari yavanohora kuti vange vachidzokera kubasa vachindoshanda vachibetsera varwere vedu vanenge vaenda kuzvipatara. Ndatenda.
Zvamabvunza zvakangofanana nezvabvunzwa naHonorable Tsvangirai. Minista pavapindura vataura vachiti vashandi vehurumende, saka manesi vashandi vehurumende.
Point of privilege, Madam Speaker. Mubvunzo ndokuti manesi aya vakandokurukura navo kuti vadzokere kubasa here kana kuti vachingori pastrike. Ndo pane mubvunzo wedu nokuti varwere vanoda kuenda kundobatsirwa kuzvipatara.
Azvinenewe.
Point of order. Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order?
On a point of order, Madam Speaker. On a point of order, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Mazvanzira.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Please, may you take your seat.
It's a point of order. A point of order stops every business.
It's a point of order. I have already acknowledged the Honorable Member. Honorable Mazvanika.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Tenge tiri kukumbirawo kuti Honorable Chaimvula vanzwise kuti nyaya dzezveutano idzi dzinobata munhu wese, hadzisi dzemapato. Saka patiri kutaura nyaya idzi kaidzi ngatitaure neudzamu hwadzinoita sei hwadzinofanira kunge dzinadzo, uyezve tiri muhouse.
Yapi yake iri right.
Saka ndiri kukumbirawo kuti Honorable Chaimvula vawithdrawe mashoko avo. Ndo point of order yangu.
Honorable Chaimvura. Matidarikei. Withdraw mashoko enyu.
Havana kunyatsogona kuti Chaimvura ndamedza.
Point of order.
Supplementary. Supplementary, Madam Speaker.
May we have order? Withdraw. Supplementary, Honorable in a blue jacket.
Point of privilege, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Minister munazenge mava pamukana ndo pavazoreshwa nokuvhiringwa naChaimvura. vaminista vapindura kuti manesi adzokera kubasa akasati.
May we have order in the house? Order, Honorable.
Gumede.
Honorable Gumede, order. Please, may you take your seat. Regai nditendere Honorable Minister vapindure.
Tenda chose mbati wechigaro nemubvunzo wabvunzwa kubva musi wa 10 March kusvika nhasi ndini ndakabata chigaro chaMinister of Health. Vana vakoti kusali Mugabe vakatora mukana usiri pamutemo wokutaridzira kutsutsumwa kwavo nemari yavanotambira ndobva vaita chinguva vachitaridzira kuti vakatsutsumwa. Pane zvatakaona kuda mumiriri uyu ungatibatsirawo nezvimwe zvakanga zvakanyorwa zvainyorwa zvainzwisisika nesu kuti mari vaifunga kuti ishoma, imwe zvifambiso, imwe yekuti mazuva anoshanda yezvomukati handa kuiona. Ndokubva vazodzokorora kuiwo wekusali Mugabe newekuparire Nyatwa musi womuvhuro unowe newekuchitungwiza newekubhindura vakatora mukana unoita maminitsi 30 vamwe vakazosvika pamaawa angangoita 2.5 ne3 ndobva vadzokera kumabasa avo. Saka vose vadzokera kumabasa avo. Ndoda kutora mukana uno kuvatenda kuti vaziva kuti upenyu hwevanhu hwakakosha, chero vane nyunyuto vanofana kuita vari pamabasa. Asi ndichikurudzirawo kuti tichienda mberi titarise Labour Act kuti kana tine zvinyunyuto titeedzere mutemo uwoyo, nokuda kwokuti iwoyo unotsetsenura kuti zvinyunyuto zvedu tozvifambisa sei. Asi nditsinirezve kuti hurumende inotungamirwa navaMunangagwa ihurumende yevanhu, ihurumende inoteerera. Saka nhasi namangwana vashandi vehurumende vachapuwa muwedzero wokuhora wondofungidzira kuti wakati tsvikiti. Ndatenda chaizvo.
Tinotenda. Supplementary Honorable Gumede.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. My supplementary question to the Minister is that under the current policy, what are the mechanisms that are in place which are binding that link salaries to inflation? Can there be some kind of a commitment to introducing them? Because as it stands, workers can't continue facing an erosion of their incomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am, and I thank the Honorable Member for a pertinent question. The Honorable Member, Madam Speaker, you will recall that government, working with its partners, the social partners and the employers, is already come with a compact. And there is a tripartite negotiating forum, and this joint forum considers all these elements on a periodic basis. And it is upon that discussion and agreement that a binding framework for enumeration of civil servants is arrived at. If the member has any additional information and additional notes on how to enhance that process, that can be submitted and we can forward that to the minister responsible for the welfare and remuneration of civil servants. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Sasayo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my supplementary question to the Minister is that whilst we understand that there's a process that government is undertaking to rationalize and to cushion workers, the reality on the ground is that prices are going up now, and these workers have to fend for their families. So my supplementary question to the Minister is that what is it that government is doing in the meantime to make sure that at least, the workers are able to fend for their families? And also, is government going to backdate the increments to make sure that, at least workers are cushioned? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I think the Honorable Member, clearly the subject is close to the government's heart, and that is why there is no other interim. We've said today, tomorrow, an announcement will be made. And let's wait for that announcement to be made, and we evaluate that announcement, and on that basis, we can then rekindle this debate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. New question, Honorable Kangausaru.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am, and greetings from Urungwe. My question goes to the Minister of Industry and Commerce. What measure is the government taking to ensure that the new industrial policy results in tangible growth in Zimbabwe manufacturing sector? So I submit, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I want to thank the Honorable Member for a very broad question, a question that relates to a recently approved national industrial policy for the country, and he wants to know what measures we are putting in place to make sure that our industrial sector grows. Madam Speaker, there are many interventions. I will hazard to mention some. It's a very broad question. Firstly, we realize the importance of competitiveness for any economy to compete or for us to be able to grow for exports. That's why starting last year, government has been reviewing all our regulations, licenses, to make sure that we are on a path towards competitiveness. The macroeconomic environment itself is an important imperative for industry to grow. That's why you have heard the Minister of Finance announcing that our inflation levels now have come below, they are now single digit. We have also seen the discipline around money supply. This again is very important just to make sure that the industry grows. Just going to our industrial policy, Madam Speaker, ma'am, we have looked at different sectors, the agro-processing, working with the Minister of Agriculture. We are working on 15 agro-value chains, with each value chain that will be receiving attention to make sure that each value chain grows and contributes towards our industrial growth. Madam Speaker, for the first time, our industrial policy speaks of the mineral value addition, manufacturing and industrialization. Again, this is a deliberate effort to make sure that our minerals contribute towards manufacturing. You would have realized, honorable members, that a few weeks ago, government banned the export of raw lithium and other minerals. This is to make sure that the country focuses more on value addition and beneficiation. In the next few weeks, 2 to 3, we will be announcing comprehensive measures on some of the special economic zones around our mineral intensive areas, which will then attract investments into these areas. Madam Speaker, ma'am, we continue to monitor all regulators. We have now introduced what we call regulatory impact assessment to make sure that every regulation that is passed is subjected to an analysis to see its impact on our economy, its impact on the cost of doing business. As a result, we will be publishing quarterly these regulatory impact assessment reports that are conducted by the National Competitiveness Commission. Further to this, Madam Speaker, ma'am, we will be intensifying our efforts to make sure that our products meet requisite quality standards. We are working as we speak on our quality regulations, and these regulations will introduce for the first time compulsory standards on some of the goods to make sure that especially consumer goods, consumables, meet these standards. And this will help us, Madam Speaker, to produce goods that are competitive in the domestic market, but also can be export-led. This is a broad question, as I've highlighted. The industrial policy will be launched in a few weeks' time when we get the President's diary, and I will invite the honorable members to go through it thoroughly, and where they will be having questions, I will be available to engage with them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary, Honorable Kangausaro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister for such a comprehensive response in a broader way. But my follow-up question would be more specific, that what is the government doing to ensure that our local industries can compete with import, cheaper imports that are coming into the country? So I submit, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the first issue in response is what I've highlighted, that we can only be competitive if we address cost drivers in our economy. Regulations were identified as one of them, and we are dealing with them. But we also realize that this will take time. Periodically, we review our import bill. We contrast it with our manufacturing capacity. And where we realize we have manufacturing capacity, we remove certain products from what we call open import general license. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, today there is a statutory instrument that is gazetted, which has removed quite a number of these products from the open import general license. Among them, these solar geysers, because we have companies like your trackers, we have capacity to manufacture these. So for one to import these going forward, they will need to apply for an import license. It is through this import license that we can assess whether we have capacity to manufacture, to meet demand, and if not, we'll be able to issue import permits. So there are a number of products that we have added there, and the primary aim is to make sure that we are supporting local production. We are also finalizing, Madam Speaker, ma'am, what we call the local content strategy, where we will be incentivizing manufacturers who are using local raw materials for manufacturing purposes. And this will be published again, I think, before the end of the second quarter, again to make sure that the manufacturers who place faith in our economy, who are procuring local, are able to benefit from certain fiscal incentives and other incentives that we will be finalizing. These are some of the initiatives that we are taking to support and to promote local manufacturing. I thank you.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary, Honorable Mateo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. My question, my supplementary question is narrowing down on manufacturing. Manufacturing in the last financial year, Madam Speaker, contributed to around 15.3% to our GDP. It could do more, But the problem we have is that our capacity utilization is currently at around 52%. So this is where the government probably should be focusing on. So my question now to the minister is, what is the government doing to ensure that we increase our capacity utilization to at least 80% so that we can unlock the current potential that is within the manufacturing sector? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Honorable for a very important question. The two metrics that the Honorable Member has used, they have limitations, and I will just touch on the limitations so that I can then help the House on how we can collectively together measure better the performance of the manufacturing sector. When you look at the contribution to GDP, it's a comparison among many contributing factors or subsectors. When you look at 2025, we had gold prices and other mineral prices going up, which when you look at the bigger picture, the mining sector would have performed very well because of these prices. So it looks at how one subsector performs compared to other sectors, not in absolute terms. Capacity utilization, it was actually 57.3% last year. Not that we are happy with that, but here is a hidden fact. Hidden fact is that over the last 6 years, in the manufacturing sector alone, we have investments that are more than $800 million in increasing capacity. Now, capacity utilization measures the extent to which you are using that capacity, despite that you have increased the capacity. What we need to look at is that in 2019, the manufacturing sector was around $2.7 billion. And when you go to 2025, it is more than $7.8 billion. That growth in absolute terms is what I will invite honorable members to say, let's focus on this. We still believe we can do more. We still believe there is a lot of value addition and manufacturing, in the mining sector that we have not correctly accounted for. Hence the focus in our new industrial policy to say, let's have these value chains where we look at each node and we put specific interventions and you are able to evaluate quite correctly. We have as a target towards 2030, capacity utilization reaching 70%. Despite the fact that there will be increasing capacity within the industry, we think that we also need to start utilizing this capacity, because the more we utilize it, then we are able to spread costs and we are able to reduce cost to the consumer and increase our competitiveness. So I might add, while we have not performed to our satisfaction, the manufacturing sector has done very well in the last 6 to 7 years. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary, Honorable Mtseyami.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my humble question to the Honorable Minister, bearing in mind all the responses that he has just given, I have a supplementary question, Honorable Speaker, to the attention of the Honorable Minister of Industry and Commerce. Given that Zimbabwe has one of the highest fuel prices in the region, largely due to the heavy taxation regime, of course, the geopolitical challenges that we are having as a result of the Iran-America-Israel war, what concrete measures, Honorable Minister, is the ministry taking to protect local industries from collapsing under high input costs and to ensure that Zimbabwean products remain competitive both locally and regionally, bearing in mind that our fuel costs in the region, Southern Africa, the SADC region, we are the highest. Against all odds, we are the highest, be it because as a result of the geopolitical, we are the highest. Then when it comes to the taxation regime in our region on fuel, diesel and petrol, we are the highest. What measures are you putting in place as a ministry in terms of policy to make sure you manage all these challenges so that our industry will prevail?
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the Honorable Member for the important and pertinent question that he has raised. Indeed, Madam Speaker, fuel in Zimbabwe is very high, second highest in the region. And it's a matter that we have discussed at length with the Treasury. Those who may have followed post-cabinet briefing yesterday, this matter was highlighted, and there is indication that it is receiving active attention from the Ministry of Finance to look at ways in which some of the taxes can be waived for purposes of lowering the price of fuel. But as I had already highlighted, Madam Speaker, from the second half of 2025, government has been seized with the issues of competitiveness. Yes, fuel is one of them, but I'm sure honorable members in this House will agree with me that a lot has been done in identifying pain points where industry has been suffering in terms of the cost of doing business. And as we are finalizing on the legal framework to put effect to these changes, we believe that this will go a long way in reducing the cost of doing business and in the process increasing our competitiveness. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We have had enough supplementary questions. New question, Honorable Ishongeza.
Honorable Speaker, I have a point of clarity request, if you can allow me.
I've already passed that stage, Honorable Mutseami. Please, may you allow us to proceed.
Well noted. I will sit down.
Thank you. Honorable Shongeza.
Mazvita mubati wechigaro. Mubvunzo wangu unoenda kuna Minister vePublic Service. Mutemo wehurumende unoti kudii maringe nekushungurudzwa nekumbumbunyidzwa kunoitwa vanhukazi nevanasikana vanoshanda kuhurumende nekuma-private sector.
Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business.
Ndotenda mubati wechigaro nemubvunzo semanzwiro andaita unoda tsvagurudzo, ongororo yokuti kune vari kumbunyikidzwa, tizive kuti vari kumbunyikidzwa kupi, papi, nani, tigoti kana tazviwana toita ongororo yakakwana tozodzoka. Saka ndanichikumbirisa chose mubati wechigaro kuti mubvunzo wakakosha. Ndinoda kuti hurumende inoremekedza vanasikana, inoremekedza vanamai, saka ngaunyorwe pasi. Ndatenda chaizvo.
Mazvita. Honorable Shongedza, munyore mubvunzo wenyu sezvataurwa naHonorable Minister. New question, Honorable Jonga.
Ndinotenda mubati wechigaro. Maswera sei. Chekutanga ndoda kutenda mutungamiri wenyika
His Excellency Dr. Emerson Damudza Mnangagwa, vagari vekwandinobva kuMaundaron West vakandituma neshoko rokuti endai munoti kuna president.
Order. Endererai mberi Honorable Jonga.
Vagari veku kwandinobva kuMaundaron West vakandituma neshoko rekuti president vari kutigonera zvakanyanya pakugadzirwa kwemigwagwa mikuru yatinoti national roads. Vakazondituma neshoko rekuti president urongwa hupi une hurumende maringe nemigwagwa
Point of order. 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 Point of order, Madam Speaker. Speaker. Point of order. Point of order, Madam Speaker.
May we have order in the house, please?
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Jonga. Point of order. What is your point of order?
Ndotenda mbati wechigaro. Ndinokumbirwa kuti mahonorable ekusaidi kwasata minister rapresident. Tauya kuzobvunza maminister muno. Ngavambosiyana na president vobvunza maminister ari muno. Ndotenda.
Seuchimirira kuda kungota mapoint.
Honorable members, may we have order in the house? May we have order, please? Honorable Chigumbu. Hapana chavatadza. Endererai mberi Honorable Jonga, bvunzai mubvunzo wenyu.
Mubvunzo wangu kuna minister vanoona nezvemigwagwa. Tine migwagwa miduku yatoti district roads inoshandiswa nevakawanda kufamba vachienda kuzvipatara vachienda kwakawanda wanda. Migwagwa yava nenguva isati yawana mukana wekuti igadzirwe. Mimwe yemigwagwa yacho nekuda kwekuita mvura uku yakuvara zvakanyanya. Saka urongwa hupi hune hurumende kuona kuti migwagwa iyoyi yakwanisa kugadzirwa kunyanya gravel roads maringe ne-2030.
May we have order? Honorable Jonga, mazodoma migwagwa. May we have order, please? Honorable Jonga, mazodoma migwagwa here, ndokumbira mundipinduri.
Ndataura migwagwa yatinoti district roads yekumaruzevha iya. Ndoda kuziva policy yehurumende maringe nemigwagwa yekuti hurumende ino urongwa hupi kuona kuti migwagwa iyoyo kunogara vakawanda ikwanisa here kuti igadzirwe.
Maita basi. Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business.
Ndinotenda chose mubati wechigaro, ndichitenda chose mumiriri uyu chokutanga kuona muono womukuru wenyika nezvavari kuita mukugadzira migwagwa. Ndozotanga ndinotanga kuda kupatsanura kuti migwagwa yedu iri pamhando na. Yokutanga ndio migwagwa mukuru yavataura inoonekwa nebazi rezvekufambisa nokutakura yeTransport and Infrastructural Development. Kwoita migwagwa iri mumaguta iya inoti ivavo vanosungirwa kuti migwagwa yomuHarare igadzirwe neguta reHarare. Kwoita migwagwa iri kumamisha iri kunzi rural district councils iri paviri. Kune migwagwa inoti iyo rural district council yacho inosungirwa kuti igadzire. Kozoitawo migwagwa inobatanidza rimwe dunhu nerimwe dunhu. Saizvozvo vaya vaimbonzi veDistrict Development Fund vakunzi Rural Infrastructure Development Agency RIDA ndo vanobata migwagwa iyoyo. Saka pane mapazi mana anoshanda mimigwagwa. Zviri kuitwa nehurumende ndizvokuti vese mapazi aya ngaungane vaone kuti mari ichaenda kumigwagwa yose iyi yakawanda zvakadini, uyo achaita chii, kuti tiite coordinated approach pachirungu. Saka pane vakapuwa basa iroro kuti vaite hotsvekotsve mapazi akasiyana siyana vanova gurukota rezvekutakurwa nokushandiswa kwemigwagwa. Saka tinotarisira kuti hurumende painenge yaona kuti zvino veguta rakati vane mari yakati yavakanga vatsveta kuti vagadzire migwagwa yakati, vozoonawo pamari iya inonzi 5% yedevolution inoti inofanira kushanda zvinhu zvitanhatu, zvimwe zvacho zviri zvemugwagwa. Vebazi rezvekuona zvematunhu velocal government vane yavanotivo minimum level service agreement inotarisirwa zviga zvekuti makanzuro anga achiita. Saka kana zvabatanidzwa zvose izvi ndo patinozoona kuti vanokwanisa kuita zvakadini gore rino, pane vendende papi pangada rubatsiro. Saka tikaita muone iwoyo tinoziva kuti taakuziva kuti kwakati kunzvimbo yakati kudunhu rakati kune road authority yakati inokwanisa kuita mugwagwa wakati, saka mugwagwa wakati wasarira kuti zoita. Saka izvozvo ongororo iyoyo iri kuitwa yati nonoke. Takachifungidzwa kuti inofanira kuti iitwe gore risati ratanga, asi zvisinei tiri kuita kuti patinoenda mberi tiite maonera pamwe tigokwanisa kuvandudza mugwagwa zvikuru, nokuda kuti mvura yakanaya yakawanda, migwagwa yedu mizhinji yakakuvara nemvura. Ndatenda.
Tinotenda.
Supplementary.
Point of order. Supplementary, Honorable Bajira.
Ngiyabonga Gcenisihla. Umbuzo wami okwengezelela ukuthi uhulumende ulenhlelo bani mayelana ngokuthi imigwaqo yenale nxa ilungiswa exhumanisa iziqinti esiyabe sikhangelele ukuthi sihlangane kizo nxa sithakazelela usuku lwethu lukazibuthe ukuthi lwazibuse ukuthi imigwaqo yena leyo ilungiswe iminyaka emibili ngaphambilini singakafiki, ngoba sinanzelela ukuthi iminyaka ngeminyaka sithi nxa sesiyafika ekuthakazeleleni lolu suku sesilokhu sesimangala ukuthi kambe umgwaqo sizabe sesiwuqedile na. Uhulumende ulazo yini inhlelo zokuthatha iminyaka engaba 2 kumbe 3 silungisa imigwaqo exhumanisa iziqinti zaleyo ndawo? Ngiyabonga.
Vunza imivunzo wenu.
Sengiqedile mphathisa.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if I got the question correctly from the translation, the Honorable Member is advising that roads that lead to these celebratory events be activated for maintenance as early as 2 years before the event. if it is a suggestion, it is indeed a suggestion that we will take to the responsible ministry. It is a good suggestion, but I wanted to thank him for recognizing that the President, His Excellency, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, has said wherever we decentralize national events, we must leave legacy impressions. And these legacy impressions are inclusive of roads, schools, development, and much more. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mavudzi.
Thank you,
Manonoka,
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My question goes to the Minister of Finance. Honorable Speaker, in December 2022, Zimbabwe started the structured dialogue platform. And to this day, we are still locked in the negotiations. My question then is, does the structured dialogue platform has an exit framework or a sunset clause in the negotiations? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank the Honorable Member for the question. The short answer is that there is no sunset clause. However, government has made tremendous progress in this structured dialogue platform. Madam Speaker, you will recall there are about 3 channels of this dialogue that we are looking at and leading to the arrears clearance program. There are facilitators, there are lead people, and those that we are negotiating with. So it takes time to be able to put in place a mechanism that allows us to make accelerated progress. But I'm pleased to report that there is progress on all fronts. So therefore, we look forward to the conclusion of these discussions in the not too distant future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank
Supplementary.
you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary, Honorable Mafudzi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, any discussion, any negotiation must come to an end. And my supplementary question then is, if we don't have a sunset clause to the SDP, are we not risking prolonging the negotiations, in the process, locking the country in negotiations that will delay debt relief and probably policy reforms in that regard? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion has just walked in. Maybe we will allow him to also take this forward. There is no sunset clause, but the danger of putting a sunset clause, Madam Speaker, is locking ourselves out of dialogue. Should we reach the deadline, I would rather have a process of finding each other, because we had very difficult and far apart positions, and we found each other and a mechanism for moving forward. The Honorable Member is suggesting that there be a sunset clause. I will suggest this to the Minister of Finance. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Rasayo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my supplementary question to the Minister is that under the structured dialogue platform, one of the key issues has been the staff monitored program. And earlier this year, the Minister was, he indicated that there was an approved staff monitored program by the IMF. And I just wanted to find out what is the latest, because my understanding is that it was supposed to be approved by the board of the IMF, but we never heard what happened to the staff monitored program. What is the latest, Honorable Minister? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ma'am, I thank the Honorable Member
for that very important question. It definitely is correct. I did announce that we had reached a staff level agreement with the IMF, which then paves the way to fine tune and finalize the final agreement, and I signed the letter of intent yesterday. So it's all under control, and we'll be moving towards implementing the staff monitoring program. We've already met various conditions precedent to that agreement, that arrangement. So I think that we should have any challenges implementing an SMP. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Mendari.
Last supplementary, Honorable Madziwanyika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. My follow-up question, Madam Speaker, is Zimbabwe's current debt has reached around 28 billion US dollars in total. As much as we have got this arrears clearance program, the structural dialogue platform, Madam Speaker, can the Honorable Minister enlighten this House? What plans do they have to extinguish this huge and horrendous debt? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
I thank Madziwanyika, my former employee at ZIMRA, for that very important question. It leads off from the staff monitoring program, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Basically, it's part of the architecture for negotiating a debt relief program under what you call the standard approach, the traditional approach. So once you have a successful SMP, we'll then deal with the external debt. So this standard approach involves identifying what we call a bridge funding provider or champion, who will then give us a 24-hour loan. That's how it works. You only need a loan for 24 hours. And then, but prior to that, what you need is what you call a set-aside from the African Development Fund, which is the soft window of the AFDB, and also from the AIDA, which is the soft window of the World Bank. That's set aside to the order of 2.5 billion, or supplemented by other resources, what then is needed to pay back the provider of the 24-hour loan of $2.5 billion. So we expect to be at that stage. I would say second quarter of next year, we should be able to then deal with the arrears from at least from the World Bank and the FDB, which are large indeed. Then for the European Investment Bank, they've signaled quite a lot of generosity towards us, Madam Speaker. They are happy to look into the interest and penalties to see if those could be set aside. But we haven't, I must say, I'm not announcing that. I'm just saying we're negotiating, and they are showing willingness to consider that. If we are able to do that, we'll make quite a bit of progress towards our arrears clearance. Once you've done that, then you move to phase 2. Phase 2 involves now dealing with the Paris Club, Madam Speaker. We have to get into what you call upper credit tranche, UCT level program with the IMF, which means that then they'll be able to give us money directly to finance our budget needs. When we start implementing that program, we then negotiate with the Paris Club to restructure the bilateral debt with the 17 Paris Club partners. By the way, we're already paying them token payments, by the way, as a sign of goodwill, that we want to be good creditors, rather good debtors rather than bad debtors. I thank you, and I thank you for asking the question.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. New question, Honorable Natiso.
On a point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of clarity.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of clarity.
Maita basa mbatwe chigaro.
Order, Honorable Natiso. What is your point of order, Honorable?
My point of order, Madam Speaker, is that Honorable Madziwanyika asked the Honorable Minister on the $28 billion, and the Honorable Minister did not then talk about part of the debt, which is the domestic debt, that has risen from 500 million to around 14 billion. And that omission, Madam Speaker, needs to be addressed.
You can put that in writing, Honorable. Please, may you put that in writing, Honorable.
Point of clarity.
Honorable Natiso.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I was going to ask for your indulgence. The Minister of Finance does not come to the House very often. And when he's here, I think we should be able to ask questions. So with your indulgence, if you can allow him to answer the question. Thank you.
I am sorry, Honorable Sasha. We are following procedures in the House.
Point of
we
clarity.
do have procedures which we have to abide by.
Point of clarity. Point of clarity. Point of clarity.
Maita basa mbatwe chigaro. Chokutanga ndoda kutenda mutungamiri wenyika ne mapo anonzi ma VBU atekeshera munyika yebhikita. Mvunzo wangu unozouya nekuda kuti mutungamiri wenyika vakati nyika inovakwa nevene vayo. Vagari vebhikita vari kuita mudeme kutsvaga zvemari vachibooresa zvemango mabhoho. Mubvunzo wangu woti pane vanonzi vecashment area vanozouya vachivabhadharisa mari dzekuti mavhora bhoho pasina permission vachivabhadharisa ma120. Vanhu vebhikita vakuomerwa nenyaya iyoyo yeZimbabwe yose.
Honorable Natiso, mozonyora kuna minister mvunzo wenyu.
Ndatenda mubati wechigaro ndichaita zviri zvinyorwa.
Mazvita. New question, Honorable Esngwenya.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is directed to the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education. Considering that Chapter 1, that is Section 7A, Section 7B of our Constitution, states that the state must promote public awareness of the Constitution, in particular by requiring this Constitution to be taught in schools. How far have we gone in that respect? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. May I thank Honorable Ngwenya for such a very important question. It is important for students to have a deeper understanding of their constitution. Madam Speaker, ma'am, the Constitution of Zimbabwe currently is being taught as an elective. It's being taught in our heritage studies, also as part of the history of Zimbabwe. It's important for students to have an appreciation of their rights through the Bill of Rights. They need to understand issues of governance. They need to understand the lawmaking process. Madam Speaker, ma'am, we have students in our schools who participate in the moot court competitions. Quite a number of schools are participating, and last year two of our schools managed to bring gold and silver in the moot court competitions that were held in Botswana. So we are going to scale the exercise in terms of those that are going to offer constitutional studies, so that in the future, the majority of of the schools will be offering constitutional studies. I thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Supplementary. Thank you, Honorable
Supplementary.
Minister.
Supplementary.
Supplementary.
This side.
Honorable
Chigumbu. Ndinotenda mbato wechigaro. Nyaya yeconstitution inyaya iri kutsviriridza mazuva ano aya munharaunda yedu nenyaya ye-CAB3. Ndoda kubva ndabvunzawo mubato wechigaro minister kuti mukudzidziswa uku tiri kutenderawo here kuti dzidziso kana kuti bhiri redu iri ringe richitaurwawo muzvikoro vana vachipawo pfungwa dzavo zvekare dzezvavanopfungwa sezvo tiri kuona kuti mumastreets umu vanhu vari kunetsekana kupa pfungwa, saka vana vari kudzidziswawo here pamusoro peamendment and vachipawo pfungwa dzavo zvinokwanisa kunge zvichiitika here munharaunda medu matiri kugara mundatenda.
Honorable Minister.
Nyaya yavabvunza mubato wechigaro ye-amendment bill kuti yati yasvika muzvikoro vana vazhinji vari muzvikoro havasati vakuvhota, saka ino inyaya yekuti parichapfuura vana vanogona kuzotarisa yavo mutemo ndowavanenge vakutarisa, kwete kuti vaise pfungwa dzavo pabhiu iroro. Tatenda.
Supplementary, Honorable Karenyi.
Amazvita, Madam Speaker, mubvunzo wangu wokudzokorora ndounoti Honorable Minister vari kuti muzvikoro vana havasati vasvika makore ekuti vakwanise kuverenga, asi chandinoziva ndechekuti mwana wese akutoenda form 5 vazhinji vacho vatove ne18 years vatove nekodzero dzokuvhota. Saka ipapo ndo patinoda kuti minister vapataridze vapindure dare rino kuti kovaya vane over 18 years havasati vane kodzero here yekuisa pfungwa dzavo pabill riri kuuya reamendment bill number 3.
Honorable Minister.
Ndinotenda mubato wechigaro. Vana vechikoro vane makore 18 zvichikwira ikodzero yavo yekuti vapewo muono wavo pabhiu iroro, ende havarambidzwe kuenda ikoko kunopa pfungwa dzavo panzvimbo dzakatarwa idzodzo. Totovakurudzira kuti vaende vanopa pfungwa idzodzo, asi nyaya yandataura yekudzidzisiwa kwachona tati elective, kureva kuti pachine zvikoro zvishoma shoma zvinodzidzisa, asi tichitarisawo curriculum yedu pamwe kumberi uku tichagona kuzoti zvikoro zvese zvigone kudzidzisa nyaya yeconstitution. Ndatenda.
Supplementary.
Tinotenda mazvo. Supplementary, Honorable.
Supplementary.
Amauswa.
Ninotenda mubato wechigaro nemukana wamandipa. Mubvunzo wangu kuna minister ndewekuti urongwa hupi hune hurumende kuti vaya vari kudzidzisa bumbiro remutemo vange vachitrenwa kana kuti kutanga vadzidziswa ivo, kuitira kuti pavanonodzidziswa vana vedu vemuZimbabwe vagamuchire muono mumwe chete pakuti zvingadzi maprovisions ari muconstitution anzwisisike zviri nani, nekuti takatarisa bumbiro remutemo yeamendment iri kuitwa number 3 iyi yaunza kupesana kwepfungwa kwakawandisa, vamwe vachiti kunofanira kuita referendum, vamwe vachiti hakufaniri kuitwa, zoreva kuti vanonodzidziswa hapana gwara rimwe chete remuono mumwe chete kuti maprovision econstitution anomborevei. Saka mubvunzo wangu minister ndewekuti hurumende ine urongwa here hwekudzidzisa vachazodzidzisa vacho kuti vange vachipa vana vemuzimbabwe muono wakajeka pakuti constitution inomboreva kuti kudii. Maita basa.
Mazvita Honorable Hamauswa, asi mubvunzo wenyu wasiyana nemubvunzo pakutanga. Mubvunzo pakutanga wanga wachibvunza kuti vana vechikoro vari kudzidziswa ere constitution yeZimbabwe. Imi makubvunza zvakapesana. Saka regai tipfuurire mberi.
Supplementary.
New question.
Supplementary, Madam Speaker.
We have had 3 supplementary questions.
But the other one, you didn't take it. The other one, you didn't take it. So if you can allow me to ask.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my supplementary question to the Honorable Minister, he was talking about the importance of teaching the Bill of Rights to students. And I just wanted to find out what is government doing to also look at the pedagogy that is being used in our education system, especially when you look at the absence of critical thinking and the fact that we normally teach our students what to think and not how to think. So is there any government, program to make sure that we move towards critical thinking? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. With your indulgence, I wanted to respond to Honorable Hamauswa first, then before responding to
Honorable Hamauswa vanga vabvunza mubvunzo usiri kuenderana nemubvunzo ino.
Andaita kuti ningopa bato wechigaro ningotaura kuti hakuna pfungwa dzakapesana, vanhu vese varongoti bhiri vanorida. Ndizvo zvandada kutaura.
Saka usina iwewe.
Then my response to the honorable member, it is not correct to say there is a conspicuous absence of critical thinking in our learners. We have introduced the heritage-based curriculum, which we examined this year in 2026 for the first time. The heritage-based curriculum is of the framework stipulates that we want to inculcate critical thinking skills in our learners. Our learners do a lot in terms of pedagogy, andragogy, and they discover a lot of information through innovation. We have new designs that have been discovered by our students because of the critical thinking skills. We want our students to think outside the box to address societal challenges. That is the essence of the new curriculum, and I want to appeal to the honorable member to read the strategy that we are using as we implement the heritage-based curriculum. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. New question, Honorable Mambipiri.
Maita basa mbatu wechigaro. Mubvunzo wangu unoenda kune mutungamiri webasa rehurumende mune ino imba. Kuti hurumende ine urongwa hupi hwokuti vagari vemuno muZimbabwe vange vachigovana pfungwa dzavo vakasununguka maringe nebhiri ririko riri kunangana nekuda kushandura bumbiro remutemo, uyezve kuti kana vachinge vapawo pfungwa dzavo vadzokera kudzimba dzavo vakwanise kudzokera vasina ari kutarisira kuti ndichaiswa tsvimbo mugodzi.
Mazvita, Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business.
Ndotenda chose mubati wechigaro nemubvunzo wabvunzwa uyu wefungidziro yokuti zvakati zvingangozoitika zvisati zvaitika. Hurumende nyika yedu yakagadzikana chaizvo, munhu wese unofamba pamadiro, vanochengetedza mutemo vanogona chaizvo, vanochengetedza nyika vanogona chaizvo. Isu vanhu veZimbabwe tine tsika dzotinoramba tichimboteerera zvondinofungidzira kuti tibatsirane tose ndewekuti tingoramba takadero vazhinji ezvino kubva pakabuda cab 3 ndai tichingoona vanhu vachingotaura
Point of order.
saka ngatirambe tichingodero pakasungunuka.
Point of order.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable
Point of order.
Mabipiri.
Maita basa mubato wechigaro. Ndanzwa minista vachitaura kuti vari kuona vanhu vachipanana pfungwa maringe nebhill iri vakasununguka, asiwo isusu mukufamba tiri kuona kuti kune vanhu vebato rimwe chete vari kubvumirwa kungoungana vachiita nyaya dzebhill idzi.
Bureau idai. Ndazina basa iwe. Gara pasi hapo iwe. Apasi pana asikati 2030 unoidai usanyepera. Usanyepera vari kunze.
Zvatotanga.
Mubato wechigaro handi muri kuona mhirizhonga yandakutoitirwa munoi.
Auri 2030 usanyepera vari gara pasi. Gara pasi.
Kutoitwa munoi.
Tinokufumura mambipiri gara pasi.
May we have order in the house? Honorable Mabipiri mabvunza bvunzo iyi.
Ndanga ndatotanga kurwiswa. Mubvunzo wangu wekuwedzera. Minister, matinogara umu tiri kuona sokuti vekune rimwe bato kwamunuku ndo vanenge vari kungobvumirwa kuita musangano pasina ari kuvatevera, asi vanopikisa vari kuti vakangoungana kana kuda kungotaurirana patosvika mapurisa yatova tsvimbo mugodzi. Ameno kuti zvii zvingaitwe kuti vanhu vasununguke vataure nyaya yebhill iri vakasununguka. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Minister of Home Affairs.
Mazvita pamubato wechigaro. Regai nditende Honorable Member of Parliament nemubvunzo wavabvunza. Mubato wechigaro muZimbabwe muno tine mutemo wedu iwo weconstitution, tozoita inonzi MOPA inobvumira pane nzira dzakatarwa kana muchida kuungana zvichienderana nekuti makawanda zvakadii uye muri kuunganira papi. Munotaura, munokumbira, munotaura kuti kana muchida kuungana gungano chete pasina yaningati demonstration pachirungu, kana kuti nguva dzino dzisiri dzesarudzo unonzi unopa mazuva anokwana 7 uchitaura kuti twakuzoungana pakati musi wakati tinenge takawanda zvakadai tiri kutarisira vanhu vakadai chinangwa chekuungana ndechakadai. Munobvumirwa kuungana tikateedzera mutemo iwoyo. Kana paita dambudziko rekuti mapurisa vane zvavafunga kana kuti vari kuona sekunge zvisingafambe zvakanaka, munogara pasi, vanoshedza anonzi convener, moonesana matambudziko angangoitika, motaurirana kuti ngatichizvigadzirai zvakadai kuti musangano uitike. Kana zvaonekwa kunzi zvaitwa nemazvo, aiwa musangano unoitwa, zvinobvumirwa nembumbiro remutemo. Tinotenda.
Supplementary.
Supplementary.
Tinotenda.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable
Chigumbu. Notenda. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ndaida kuti Honorable Minister vatsanangure nezvavataura, nekuti izvozvi kutaura kunoku nhengo dzidare rino reParliament dzakanyorera matsamba kumapurisa kuti vasangane nevanhu vemumaconstituency mavo. Vazhinji vese vari kurambirwa. Saka uziva kuti ipolisi yehurumende here iyoyo yekuti vanhu vanyimwe permission yekuti vaite mameetings iwayo.
Mazvita. Honorable Minister.
Tinotenda mubati wechigaro.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Minister. What is your point of order?
Maita basa, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Honorable Joanna Mamombe, vakaita msangano wavo, wavakabvunza vanhu vemuconstituency yavo, vakataura muonero wavo. Saka ndochokwadi chiripo kwete chiri kutaurwa naHonorable Mushorwa. Maita basa, Madam Speaker.
Point of order. Point of order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
Point of order.
May we have order? May we have order in the house? May we have order, please? Ndofunga kwakabvunzwa mubvunzo. Minister vanga vasumuka kuti vapindure, asi vasati vapindura vapuhwa imwe information inovarerukira pakupindura kwavo.
Point of order. Point of order.
Next question.
Point of order.
Chirega minister vapindure ndozokupai mukana.
Today kwapa more information kuti kana vakupindura vapindura zvakanaka.
Aiwa, inini ndinotaura kuti ibhomirai vapei ibhomirai chibhomirai vatange vapindura ndozokupai.
Point of privilege.
Ndati ndinozokupai mukana kana minister vapindura.
Tinotenda mubati wechigaro. Honorable member vativo kune vakanyora matsamba vakarambidzwa. Iwo mutemo wandanichitaura wemopa unotaura kuti kana varambidzwa vane nzira dzakawanda. Yekutanga vanokwanisa kuenda kuna magistrate. Zvirimo mopa vanobvumirwa kuenda kuna magistrate. Kundarambidzwa vanokwanisa kuita appeal kuna magistrate. Ndo nzira yekutanga. Imwe nzira yechipiri, Madam Speaker, tane Independent Complaints Commission. Vanhu vakaona kuti mapurisa vavaitira zvavasina kugutsikana nazvo, commission iyo yakagadzwa napresident kuti vanoenda ikoko vonotaura kuti hatina kubatwa zvakanaka nemapurisa. Saka vane nzira mbiri, kukoti kuma magistrate kana kuti kuIndependent Complaints Commission. Tinotenda.
Supplementary. Supplementary, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, supplementary.
Madam Speaker.
Supplementary, Madam Speaker.
Tawana ma-supplementary maviri kwasara 1.
Yes.
Supplementary. Supplementary.
Chimboti bayo kulu.
Supplementary, Honorable. Avo.
Thank you very much,
Madam Speaker.
Honorable vari kudza vari kumbera.
Maita basa.
Usiye mbanje.
Maita basa mubati wechigaro. Tinotenda mapurisa edu nebasa guru raari kubata munyika medu muno nekuchengetedza zviri pamutemo. Mubvunzo wangu wekuwedzera ndewekuti zvingatore nguva yakareba sei kuti uende zvataurwa naHonorable Minister kuti uzoapuruvwa kuti uite musangano. Maita basa.
Honorable Minister. Imbogarai pasi. Honorable Minister.
Tinotenda, Madam Speaker. Vane mapurisa vanenge vachifanira kutora mazuva matatu kuti vapindure maringe nemaondero avanoita pachikumbiro chinenge chaitwa chekuita musangano. Tinotenda.
Point of privilege, Madam Speaker.
Tinotenda Mazvita.
Point of privilege, Madam Speaker. Point of privilege, Madam Speaker.
Atinga nyaya yatodarika achibvunze mubvunzo nekuwanda ne-point of privilege.
Point of order.
Kana mune zvamunenge muchida isai muzvinyorwa.
No, it's very important. Point of order. It's very important.
Izoisai muzvinyorwa. New question, Honorable Nyabani.
Point of privilege, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have got a point of privilege. The pertinent one.
Izoisai muzvinyorwa mubvunzo wenyu kana uri wekuenderana nemubvunzo wanga wabvunzwa.
Ndotenda nemhinduro yamandipa.
Aiwa, ndira kukupai nguva, garai pasi. Handina kukupai nguva, Honorable, garai pasi. Garai pasi tite basi.
Speaker, takaona madhuku
garai pasi.
Takaona madhuku
garai pasi.
Mahachi.
Honorable Nyabani.
Point of privilege, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Point of privilege, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Dance.
Point of privilege. It's very important, Madam Speaker. It's very important. If you are being threatened here, Madam Speaker, what about outside? We are. Look at how these guys are behaving. That's my point of privilege, Madam Speaker.
Honorable, please, may you take your seat.
Vaithabasa mubati wechigaro. Mubvunzo wangu unonangana naminister vanoona nezveutano. Urongwa hupi hwehurumende pavana vanoita pamuviri vari kuchikoro chechinesi?
Pachikoro chechinesi. Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business.
Ndinotenda mubati wechigaro. Handina kunyatsonzwisisa mubvunzo uyu kuti wabvunzwa uri kuda kuenda nepi. Kuti
regai vadzokorore.
Maithabasa mubati wechigaro. Ndinokumbira kubvunza kuti urongwa hupi hwehurumende pamwana anobata pamuviri achidzidza chikoro cheukoti huripo pari zvino.
Mazvita. Honorable Minister.
ndinotenda mubati wechigaro. Ndichitenda nomubvunzo uyu. Ndichasvitsa kuna gurukota rinoona nezveutano kuti vatipe zvakakwana kuti urongwa huripo ndehupi pane vanenge vabata nhumbu vari pachikoro chokudzidza zvokurapa. Ndatenda.
Mazvita. Honorable Bindlof.
Ngiyabonga nesihlalo. Umbuzo wami qondana logatsha lubona ngokwakhiwa kwemigwaqo nokuthuthukiswa kwezigaba. Okokuqala ngithanda ukuthi ngibonge umsebenzi omkhulu owenziwa yilolu gatsha elizweni jikelele. Umbuzo wami bese sithi wona ukhona yini umthetho ochasisa ukuthi labo abakha imigwaqo andubana bephiwe umsebenzi balesikhathi esimiswe yini ukuthi kufuze babe sebeqalisile na lo msebenzi? Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am, and I thank the Honorable Member for a very important question. In law of contracting, the quality of the work and the duration is specified. But what we often see, Madam Speaker, is that the resources, the source of the resources, often determine how long that work will last. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary, Honorable Bindlof.
Ngiyabonga ngicela isihlalo. Nthemba uminister akazwisisanga umbuzo wami. Umbuzo wami uthi wona amakhampani la aphiwa umsebenzi. Nxa esewuphiwe ulesikhathi esimisiweyo yini ukuthi abe sewuqalisile lowo msebenzi. Esingathi ngesikhiwa mobilizing to the site. Is there any time that specify the mobilization of the mobilization of the equipment and the workers to the site?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the further clarification. The initial response was for the duration of the work and how that is determined by the resourcing that's for that particular project. But I note that the Honourable Member's question is about commencement of the work following closure of the contract. That will be specified within the contract and will vary from contract to contract depending on the magnitude of the contract. Perhaps if you are doing a small bridge, the time to mobilize will be very short, but if you are doing a large project, then the mobilization period will be appropriately and proportionately large. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Supplementary, Honourable James.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could I ask the Minister if he could clarify if the contractor on the Bulawayo Vic Falls Road has withdrawn their services because of non-payment?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the great interest in the Bulawayo Victoria Falls Road, which is very specific and has given me information that they have withdrawn, for which I will convey, of course, to the Minister responsible and ascertain. But if the member wishes to get additional information, Madam Speaker, because it's very specific, my suggestion is that they put this in writing. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable James, please may you put your question in writing.
Supplementary.
Order. In terms of standing order number 68, time for questions without notice has expired. According to my clock, it's 1:15.
Madam Speaker, I move for the extension of the time by further...
Objection! We object. I second, Madam Speaker. I second, Madam Speaker. Objection.
Unfortunately, there is an objection.
Order. Questions with notice. Allow me to defer questions 1 to 76. I will revert back. Question number 77, Honorable Mureri.
Question number 77, Madam Speaker.
Order. Question 77, Honorable Minister of Home Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Madam Speaker, ma'am, Honorable Mureri is asking the Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage to apprise the House of the challenges faced by the police in investigating and or arresting individuals involved in transactions involving large amounts of hard cash conducted without the involvement or observation of the banking system. Madam Speaker, ma'am, allow me to start by thanking the Honourable Member for asking such an important question. The House, and indeed the entire citizenry, should appreciate that the ability of our police to execute their duties also depends on the level of public cooperation in their efforts. We have experienced a spike in cases of theft and armed robberies in which large sums of cash are stolen. Oftentimes, the victims of such crimes would be shunning the banking system, a scenario which renders them vulnerable. To this end, we encourage all citizens and corporates alike to avoid keeping large sums of money and instead do regular banking to minimize risk. Importantly, doing the right thing and legal thing at all times also makes police work both ethical and easier. Having said that, when it comes to the investigation of cases involving large sums of cash which are not observed by the banking system, one of the major challenges is accountability for the cash exhibits when they are recovered. When police recover such money, in the majority of cases, complainants are not able to properly account for their money through serial numbers, and courts therefore find it difficult to link recovered money to the complainant, as there won't be any other proof of ownership. Under such circumstances, money may even end up not being handed back to the complainant, which defeats all efforts involved. In the same breath, cases involving hard cash are highly difficult to make recoveries. Whilst arrests may be made in the majority of cases, nothing is recovered given the liquid nature of hard cash. Madam Speaker, ma'am, where large sums of money are involved, there's also a high risk that police may end up investigating and even helping people to recover money acquired through illicit activities, thereby unknowingly and indirectly supporting these ventures. This is a serious challenge which is very difficult to detect, where transactions involved are not observed by the formal banking system. The House also needs to take note that the police have an obligation to investigate all cases reported to them. Madam Speaker, ma'am, the other challenge is that complainants end up under-reporting amounts involved for fear of being questioned on the source of such cash. This has an effect of promoting underworld financial transactions, which has a multiplier effect on crime risk. As government, we strongly encourage business people and individuals alike to ensure that they use the formal banking system to reduce the risk of falling victim to crime and also make the police investigating processes easier. I thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mandari.
Supplementary, Honorable Matsanyika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Madam Speaker, we have seen in the past individuals holding millions of cash, distributing and making donations. My supplementary question, therefore, Madam Speaker, is the Exchange Control Act of this country provides for limits on withdrawals of cash from our banking sector. Does the Minister of Home Affairs investigate such people, such as Wikine Uchuvayo and other alleged philanthropists? I thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I would like to thank the honourable member for the supplementary question. The honourable member clearly stated that cash withdrawals have a limit of 10,000 US. But that doesn't translate to an offence if someone has more than 10,000. What is limited is the withdrawal, and that is controlled by the banks themselves. So if the banks allow a maximum of 10,000, I'm sure that is what is happening. And if it's not, then that falls under the RBZ and probably the Minister of Finance who happens to be here. But as to people having more than 10,000 US dollars, I would defer that question to the Minister of Finance if that amounts to an offense. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Finance, would you want to take it up?
The law is very clear. In terms of limiting withdrawals, it does limit withdrawals from the bank. But you can keep withdrawing for the next 10 days or 30 days. By that time, you have a lot of money with you. It is not illegal to be found in possession of that money at all. So there is no illegality. Maybe there's a specific case that the honourable member wanted to put across for a response from the Minister of Home Affairs. Maybe it's very specific, but generally there is no offence there being made.
Supplementary. Point of clarity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Matsanik, I think the Minister was very clear in his response.
I was seeking clarification from
the law is clear. I don't know where you want to seek clarity.
I raised two issues, Madam Speaker.
You may proceed.
The first one was to do with the Exchange Control Act, and the other one was to do with money laundering. Madam Speaker, my follow-up question is, we have seen letters addressed to banks, such as the Bank ABC, requesting withdrawal of such large sums of money, yet the Exchange Control Act of this country limits withdrawal to 10,000 US dollars. What is happening in that case, Madam Speaker? That is where we are coming from. Honestly, holding cash is not an offense, but withdrawing large sums of money beyond 10,000 becomes an offense. But we have seen banks giving these large sums of money to individuals. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, we are entertaining social media stories in this house. If the honorable member saw such letters and banks authorizing such letters, please, can they go to ZAC or to police? Allow us to continue with the business, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. And I would like to thank the honorable member who has just spoken. In fact, he took the words out of my mouth. Seeing a letter, whether, I don't know where, but a letter applying for money, it does not amount to a crime. An application is not a crime. But where the honorable member feels that money was actually withdrawn, such amounts of money, then in my view, Madam Speaker, ma'am, that's a specific case. And I would ask the honorable member to put it in writing with all the necessary details, then the matter can be looked at. Thank you.
Supplementary.
Allow me to, yes, Honorable Nyati.
Thank you very much. I would like the Minister of Finance to confirm in this House that in Zimbabwe you are allowed to hold any amount of money you want to hold, because in other countries there is a limitation. I want him to confirm this in this House. Thank you.
I confirm.
Honorable Nyati, you have been answered. Allow me to revert to question 3, Honorable Bajila.
Question 3, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Information.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me turn to the question. Madam Speaker, Honorable Pajila sought the ministry to provide statistics of broadcast and television time allocated to political parties by ZBC from January 2023 to June 2025 and clarify whether ZEC monitors media fairness during non-election years. I wish to thank Honorable Bajila for the pertinent question regarding the allocation of broadcasting time to political parties and the oversight role of the ZEC on media fairness. To begin, it is important to clarify the distinction between a national broadcaster and a public broadcaster. A national broadcaster refers to any broadcasting service provider that is licensed to transmit content across the entire country. This includes both public and private broadcasters that have nationwide coverage. A public broadcaster specifically is in our case, is our Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, ZBC. ZBC operates under a public mandate to inform, educate, and entertain citizens while serving the national interest. As a public broadcaster, ZBC is expected to adhere to principles of impartiality, balance, and fairness, particularly in its news and current affairs programming. Statistics of broadcast time allocated to political parties as was inquired. Every political party was afforded coverage during the 2023 elections. Coverage included news stories, political debates, manifesto presentations. Coverage was extended to political parties on ZBC television, all radio stations and digital platforms. However, some CCC candidates turned down the ZBC offer for coverage. Records sent to the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe are available upon request. Political parties covered during 2023 includes ZANU-PF, CCC, UANC, MDC, and independent candidates. Then coming to monitoring by ZEC. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZEC, is mandated to monitor media coverage of political parties only during the election period. This is defined as the period between the proclamation of an election and the announcement of its results as provided under ZEC, that's media coverage of elections, Regulations 2008. During this cycle, ZEC works with media stakeholders to ensure fair and equitable coverage of all contesting parties and candidates. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, ma'am, while ZEC's formal monitoring role is confined to the election period, the expectation of fair, balanced, and objective political coverage remains a standing obligation for all broadcasters, especially the public broadcaster, ZBC. I thank you.
Thank you.
Supplementary.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for your response. You mentioned ZEC's oversight role being around the election period, as you correctly showed how it is defined. My supplementary question is therefore referring to the obligations of fairness, of making sure that as wide with possible political opinions are covered by ZBC, even outside election periods, especially in these current political periods where the nation is debating the constitutional amendment and other issues. Does ZBC have programs and systems of ensuring that as wide as possible views that may not necessarily be in the same direction are given space in its programs? I thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. In my response, I referred to a statutory instrument which mandates ZEC to cover stories, news, and some campaign material from various political parties during the election period. And I also indicated that ZEC is not mandated to do so outside elections. Then the question is, the role of ZBC in its coverage. Madam Speaker, ma'am, you will notice that the bill that the honorable member is referred to is now government policy, given that it has been approved by cabinet and it has also been gazetted by this parliament. So it gets into public domain, and as such, people would then be informed or educated about that bill. And that's what the national broadcaster like ZBC then does. And I can confirm that ZBC is informing the public, educating the public, and giving awareness about that bill. I think the honorable member has also witnessed, if he watches on television, that a lot of people are getting educated about the presence of that bill. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Mshoriwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I need the Honorable Minister to explain to this August House what formula is used by the national broadcaster ZBC in terms of allocating time to political parties during elections, more so given the fact where two political parties have fielded candidates in all the constituencies. And which formula does ZBC apply, seeing that in the past we have seen that notwithstanding that the two political parties have fielded from presidential to ward councillors, same candidates, the other part gets 80-something% of coverage, and yet the other part gets 70%, which is mostly negative coverage.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am, and to thank Honorable Mshoriwa for the question. Madam Speaker, ma'am, it's unfortunate I cannot confirm the statistics that the Honorable Member is speaking about, to say some other parties get 80% coverage, whilst others 20% or so. We may have to do an inquiry based on some statistics that can be collected by ZEC or the national broadcaster, so as to confirm or to substantiate the claims that are being made by the honorable member. But all I know is there's a regulation, especially during the election period, and I would have expected, if there wasn't fairness, especially during that time, the party which felt it was not fairly treated should have raised that. But we can always do further investigations, given that this requires some statistics. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Makumiri.
Ndotenda mbato chigaro mukatarisa mubvunzo uyu unoratidza kusagovana kwakaringana panguva inopuwa vezvematongerwo enyika pakubuda pachivhitivhiti chenyika. Iyezvi mukatarisa mbato chigaro muchaona kuti pabhiri riri kutsviriridza reconstitution amendment number 3 muchaona kuti panongova nebato rimwe rinobudiswa richiita zvirongwa zvaro zvebhiri rinova rekurudyi kwenyuko, asi ruzhinji rwose rune imwe pfungwa pamusoro pebhiri harusi kupuwa mukana, ruchibudiswawo vachiita zvirongwa zvavo.
Honorable Makumire, hamusisiri kusangana nemubvunzo, hamusi kupa supplementary to the question that has already been asked.
Alright.
You are now digressing. Can you please stick to the question?
Ndiri kuda kubvunza, nyaya iripo mubato chigaro ndeyokuti mapato ari kuchema kuti hatisi kupuwawo nguva yakaringana pachivhitivhiti chenyika. Saka tiri kuda kunzwa kuti urongwa hupi huchaitwa nehurumende kuti hunge huchikavhawo vamadhuku vachita zvirongwa zvavo, vabiti vachita zvirongwa zvavo, vatimba vachita zvirongwa zvavo, nevamwe
Tanzwa mubvunzo wenyu
vakasiyana.
Honorable Makumire, Honorable Minister.
Zvita mubati wechigaro ichokwadi neni ndandazviona kuti mumwe mubvunzo wanga wati pesanei nemubvunzo watanga kusimudzwa. Kana iri nyaya yekupuwa kwemikana inoitwa, tataura kuti inoitwa neZBC, ndipane nzira yekuti vanenge vaine zvirongwa zvavo zvavanoda kuti zviwane coverage vakwanise kunoaprocha ZBC votaura nayo kuti isu tine zvirongwa zvedu zvatiri kuda kuti zvinge zvichikavhiwa, asi zvimwe zvacho zvatiri kuona zvirongwa zvimwe zviri kuitwa muchivande, vanhu vari kuita zvirongwa vasina kutombozivisa. Mutemo unoti kana kuine zvirongwa zvekushambadzira zvinofanirwa kunge zvichida kuti zvishambadzirwe, vanhu vanofanirwa kutanga vatobhuka voratidza kuti vane chirongwa chavari kuda kuti vaite. Naizvozvo process yacho ikatanga kunzvenga pekuti vanhu vanenge vasina kuzivisa kuti vane zvavari kuda kuti vataure nevanhu, munozowana sei coverage imi makavanda? Saka vanhu ngavabude pachena kana vachinge vaine zvirongwa zvavari kuda kuti vaite, vasaite vakavanda mazvita. Mubati wechigaro.
Thank you. Question 4, Honorable Bajila.
Question 4, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Information.
Mazvita mubati wechigaro. A question again from Honorable Pajila to explain why national radio and television coverage remains poor or non-existent in parts, in some parts of the country like Gokwe North District, Matabeleland North Province, Matabeleland South Province, and nearby districts. The answer, Madam Speaker, the challenges of poor or non-existent radio and television coverage in parts of Gokwe North, Matabeleland North, and Matabeleland South and surrounding districts stem primarily from outdated analog broadcasting infrastructure and the incomplete rollout of the National Digitalization Program. Compounding factors include load shedding and the high cost of operating standby generators at transmission sites in remote areas. In the case of Mapisa, the obstructive terrain of Matopos range prevents signals from Blawayo from reaching the community. The Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, in close collaboration with Transmedia Corporation Limited and the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe, is addressing these gaps through Zim Digital Phase 2, which is running from 2025 to 2030. And the key interventions include installing new digital television transmitters and refurbishing FM transmitters, constructing additional transmission towers, and deploying solar-powered systems for sustainable, reliable broadcasting in underserved communities. Progress that has been achieved to date in Matabeleland North, coverage has improved notably around Kamativ, Lupane, and Binga through further expansion as required. In Matabeleland South, a digital TV transmitter has been installed in Gwanda, enhancing television services, while high-powered FM transmitters in Plumtree have boosted national radio coverage. Also, a 113-meter transmission tower has been completed in Mapisa. Radio services in Nemudzia have been strengthened recently, but television gaps persist and are being prioritized. I'm glad to report that we managed to establish at least 4 community radio stations for Matabeleland South, which are Vukalanga FM, Teve, Manama Radio, Baete FM, and Locha FM. In Matabeleland North, we have Leja FM, and it was Sumbuka FM. We also have the Inganga FM in Mbembezi, Matabeleland North, and Nembudzia FM in Gokwe North that have been licensed awaiting operationalization. Overcoming challenges through recent interventions, the digitalization and FM expansion projects have encountered delays due to funding gaps from our treasury. However, recent amendments to the Broadcasting Services Act have bolstered revenue collection, which will be directed towards upgrading of digital transmission. The ministry is confident that by the end of 2026, substantial improvements will deliver equitable broadcasting access across affected regions. In conclusion, I assure this August House of my ministry's unwavering commitment to universal access to national broadcasting services and completion of ZIM Digital Phase 2. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Supplementary, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary, Honorable Mshorio.
Madam Speaker, I need could the Honorable Minister explain the roadmap in respect to the digitalization, the movement from analog to digitalization? When are we likely, Honorable Minister, to see completion? Because this move has been on the cards for a long time, and the government year in, year out, and also given the fact that even within the various budgets that we have passed through this house, monies have been allocated for that purpose. What is the problem? Is there any date where Zimbabweans will be saying every corner of the country people can actually listen to our only radio or TV stations?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Madam Speaker, our target for 2026 is to improve television coverage from 38% to 42%, given the resources that have just been availed through vehicle radio licensing. With regards to radio coverage, Madam Speaker, ma'am, our target is to move from 81% to 85%. We are currently on 81%, but as we gravitate towards 2030, Madam Speaker, ma'am, we would want to ensure this August House that we would have achieved 100% coverage through digital signal reception. The ZIM Digital Phase 1, Madam Speaker, ma'am, commenced in 2015. And this program was supposed to be completed within 2 years. Unfortunately, over the years, some equipment which was installed have since become obsolete, and we will continue to be replacing as we endeavor to move with the changing times. So as much as a lot of effort was made, but we still find ourselves lagging behind because we continue to upgrade the technology from time to time, Madam Speaker, ma'am, but this is what we would want to promise the citizens, that by the end of this year, in terms of radio, we would have moved up to 85%, and we are also installing community radios, like I mentioned. A total of 22 have so far been licensed, of which 14 have been installed and they are on air, those community radio stations. And this is the effort that we are making, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you.
Further supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Hamaus.
Maita basa mbato wechigara. Mvunzo wangu kuna minister unoti kune nzvimbo dzakati wandei muno muZimbabwe dzakafanana nekuna Namudzi, kwa kutosvika masaisai ari kufambiswa kuburikidza nedigitization, asi vagari veko vasiri kukwanisa kuona masaisai erudzi irworwo nenyaya yekuti vari kuti havana anonzi maset-top boxes. Urongwa hupi hwehurumende kuti dare rino risazoti imi veministry information kana MOYO kuzokumbira mari, dare rino roti ko yatakakupai mazvuru nezvuru zvemamiriyoni mukagadzira digitization hamusi kuzvishandisa sei kuti vanhu ivavo vakwanise kunge vachigamuchira masaisai iwayo. Urongwa hupi hurumende kuti zvifambe zvakanaka kuti pamuchazouya muchida imwe mari tigogona kukutsigirai. Maita basa.
Honorable Minister.
Zviita mubati wechigaro. Madam Speaker ma'am, ma-set-top boxes ari kuwanikwa mukacherechedza kusanganisira nevari muimba ino, mukacherechedza kazhinji panoparurwa nhau panguva dzemanheru panotoziviswa kuti ma-set-top boxes ari kuwanikwa kupi. KuZBC ari kuwanika, kuBuzz ari kuwanika, kuTransmedia ari kuwanika. Anotengwa kamwe chete and mutengo wawo $25. Munhu kana achinge atenga anenge ane ma-stations aanokwanisa kubata masaisai asingazoteereri kupera kwemwedzi. Ukangotenga chinoshandiswa ichocho chigadget chinenge chaakukupai mukana wokuti mukwanise kuwana masaisai ari kutaurwa echizvino zvino ataurwa nahonorable member. Saka iwayo ari kuwanika, uye isu zvatiri kuzvirovedza kwazviri secommitment ndezvekuti ticharamba tichiita kuti kwese akwanise kuwanika kunzvimbo dzakasiyana siyana pedyo nekune vanhu vakwanise kumatenga sekunzvimbo dzataurwa idzodzo. Tichaona kuti veTransmedia neBuzz vakwanisa here kuendesa pedyo nekune vanhu vakwanise kutenga ma-set-top boxes iwayo. Mazvita.
Thank you. Supplementary Honorable Committee.
Ngiyabonga mphathi sihlalo. Sizwile ukuthi imali lezi ezazi collectwa kuma broadcasting license, ama radio license ebantwini zingezelele isikhwama sogatsha. Mina umbuzo wami ukuthi njengoba imali lezi zivela kuma regions wonke awelizwe, zikhona yini indlela esezivele sezikhona ezihleliweyo lugatsha lona lolu ukuthi ama region wonke ayenelise ukuthi athole ukuthi babe le coverage, wonke ama region ayenelise ukuthi lawo a benefit njengoba imali lezi zivela ndawo zonke elizweni. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable Minister.
Mazvita mubati wechigaro. Mubvunzo uri kuti mari iri kutorwa kubva kuma-license emaredhiyo zvine urongwa hwakadini hwekuti ikwanise kuseenzeswa vanhu vose mukati menyika vawane masaisai. Ishokwadi ndodonzvo ratiinaro. Mari iyoyo iri kutorwa ichienda kuZBC, ndotenda kuti Montrose studio kune vari kuBulawayo vari kuzviziva kuti yakavandudzwa kuti ikwanise kuva nemishina yechizvino zvino. Imwe mari iri kusevenzeswa neTransmedia vane basa rekugadzira zvatingati zvikwanisiro, matransmitters anozoita kuti masaisai akwanise kufambisa mashoko. Imwe ichienda kuBroadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe, BUZZ. Kwese ikoko veBUZZ ndo vari kuisa community radios kunzvimbo dzatiri kuti ma-national broadcaster vakafanana nana Radio Zimbabwe kana National FM kwavanenge vasati vasvika vanhu vari munzvimbo yatingati community vane kodzero yekuti vakwanise kutaurirana vazivisane pamusoro pezvirongwa zviri kuitika munzvimbo yavo vakwanise kutaurirana zvine chekuita nemagariro neculture yavo nerudzi rwavo. Saka vebhas vari kusevenzesa chimwe chidimbu chemari iyoyo kuti vanhu vari kumatunhu akasiyana siyana mumacommunities vakwanise kuwana zvikwanisiro zvemacommunity radios. Saka ichokwadi donzvo rataurwa nahonorable member ndo ratiinaro isu seministry uye sehurumende kuti kwese kwese kunofanirwa kuva nemasaisai. Hakuna dunhu ratingati rakakosha kupfuura rimwe. Kwese kwese matunhu anoenzaniswa uye zvirongwa zvacho zviri kufananidzwa kwese kwese mukati menyika mazviti.
Question 5, Honorable Bajila.
Question 5, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Information.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. The honorable member sought to understand the position regarding the exemption of car radio licenses to vehicles belonging to the deaf community. Members of the deaf community are exempted from paying for radio licenses so long they present proof of ownership of the vehicles affected. I thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Thank you. Question 6, Honorable Bajila. Yes, supplementary, Honorable James.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for that reply. My supplementary question also regards exemptions for vehicles. The situation at the moment is that anyone without a radio in their vehicle has to go and see a ZBC office. Some of the more remote places there don't have offices and they have to travel a considerable distance to prove this, especially now with the increased price in fuels and everything. Would the Minister consider relaxing this issue and perhaps taking the word of the vehicle owner when he licenses, and good luck to them if they pass through a roadblock not having paid? Would he consider relaxing that? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Madam Speaker, ma'am, the process for one to obtain an exemption is that they must produce a letter from the Ministry of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare. And I know that it is one of the ministries that have devolved to most of our districts, including rural districts. My advice, Madam Speaker, ma'am, is that if there is anyone who is affected, they should approach their nearest social welfare offices where they can get a letter confirming that they are deaf, and they will use that letter to obtain an exemption. I thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Sorry, point of clarity.
Yes. You may
Sorry,
go ahead.
my supplementary question wasn't referring to the deaf community. It was just referring to anyone in the outlying areas that couldn't access these offices of the ZBC or social services.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, ma'am, I didn't get the question clearly, but people that are in rural areas, in case that's what the honorable member is referring to, people in rural areas are exempted from paying licenses, radio licenses for their radios that they own at homes. They are exempted. But in case maybe I missed the question, if he could come again, Honorable Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, with your indulgence. Yes, it's people living in the remote areas, but with a vehicle, without a license, a radio. They're finding it difficult to get that exemption certificate when they don't have a ZBC office relatively close. Could they not rely on honesty when they license their vehicles? And as I said, good luck to them if they pass a roadblock with a radio and without the license.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I wanted to understand the question properly before I could give a response. Madam Speaker, ma'am, Zinara has made some arrangements with ZBC with regards to licensing of vehicles for ZBC reception. So where those that are in rural areas who cannot access ZBC offices can still pay for their licensing at the same offices where they are licensing their vehicles. And Madam Speaker, ma'am, it has also been made a prerequisite that before a vehicle license is issued, there must be proof of one, the insurance that has been paid, and also that license for a radio has been paid. So for those that are in rural areas, they can still go to the offices where they are paying for their licenses and have everything paid for there. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, I still require clarity here. It's for those vehicles that do not have a radio in them. And it's the proof of the fact that they don't have a radio in there. That is the difficulty with some of these drivers.
Honorable Minister.
All right, thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. If one does not have a radio, obviously that has to be certified by ZBC that you don't have a radio in your vehicle. If I got the question correctly from the honorable member, the issue that an exemption has to be obtained from ZBC offices, and in rural areas there are no ZBC offices. Madam Speaker, ma'am, this is a situation that the honorable member has just brought in, and I will obviously discuss this with ZBC to ascertain how such people can be assisted where they cannot access ZBC offices but they don't have radios in their cars. I will certainly discuss that with ZBC to find a way by which exemptions can be afforded. I thank you.
Thank you. We've exhausted supplementary questions. We have taken 3 already from Honorable James. Allow me to defer questions 6 to 57. Question 58, Honorable Manzivanyika.
So, Madam Chair, question 7 is on the order. The Minister is around. I'm not sure if can be detained. The Minister of Information.
The Minister of Finance has got another engagement. Can we allow him to
Minister
respond?
of Information.
Yes, we'll revert back.
Thank you. Question 56, Madam Speaker.
Question 58.
Question 58, Madam Speaker.
Question 58, Honorable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I thank Honorable Mativanyika for the question, which was to ask the Minister of Finance, Economic Development, Investment Promotion to appraise the House of the plans to review salaries of civil servants in 2026 in line with the poverty daytime line. Madam Speaker, I rise to respond to the question as posed regarding the government's plans to review civil servant salaries in line with the poverty daytime line. I wish to thank the honourable member for his concern regarding the welfare of our dedicated civil servants who remain the backbone of our national service delivery. At the outset, it is vital to clarify to this House that government has already taken proactive measures to ensure that no civil servant falls below the poverty threshold. As of the 6th of February 2026, the poverty daytime line, representing the total consumption poverty line for a family, stands at 7,842 ZIG and 6 cents, which is equivalent to 301 US dollars and 72 cents. At the prevailing exchange rate of 1 to 25.9909. In contrast, the lowest paid civil servant currently earns a total monthly package of US dollars 364, which is equivalent to 9,460 ZIG and 68 cents. Consequently, the current minimum remuneration in the public sector is significantly above the poverty daytime line, ensuring a basic standard of living that accounts for essential goods and services. Furthermore, government has adopted a robust and resilient payment structure designed to protect the purchasing power of our employees against market volatility. Currently, salaries are pegged in the in United States dollars, but remain payable in a dual currency format. That protects against exchange rate movements, adverse exchange rate movements. Specifically, every civil servant receives a core component of 320 US dollars in foreign currency, with the remaining balance paid in local currency, the ZIG. Because the local currency portion is converted at the prevailing market rate, the salary remains self-adjusting. This mechanism ensures that the real value of a civil servant's income does not erode as the exchange rate fluctuates, providing much-needed financial stability for our workforce. Looking ahead into 2026 fiscal year, Treasury has gone beyond simple inflationary adjustments. The 2026 national budget has made a specific and significant provision for implementing the job evaluation exercise. This exercise is designed to move the public service toward a modernized, equitable, and performance-based remuneration system. Rather than relying on ad hoc increments, this job evaluation will result in an entirely new salary framework. This framework will ensure that civil servants are compensated fairly based on their specific roles, responsibilities, and technical expertise, further consolidating the gains we've made in keeping their welfare well above the poverty daytime line. I submit.
Supplementary.
Thank you. Supplementary, Honorable Matswanyika.
Ndatenda mubati wechigaro. Mubati wechigaro gurukota nezvemari ratsanangura muimba ino kuti riri kugutsikana nemihoro yavashandi vehurumende. Gurukota riri kuti poverty daytime line, according to them, according to him, is 201 United States dollars.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Order. What's your point of order?
The honourable member must not debate, but ask the minister what he wants. We don't want to see people debating.
Thank you, Government Chief Whip. Honorable Matswanyika, can you please stick to your supplementary question?
Madam Speaker,
there's no need for you to explain what the minister has said or respond to what he said. Can you stick to your supplementary
Madam
question?
Speaker, Honorable Minister, I don't know if that is an offense. I'm not debating. Dirikuti, Gurukota Mari Rati, poverty daytime line, is 201 US dollars.
Order. Can you stick to your question, Honorable Matswanyika? Can I move on?
Madam Speaker, mubvunzo wangu wokuwedzera ndokuti icho kwadere chiri kutaurwa nahonorable minister kuti poverty data line muZimbabwe $201 US tichitarisa accommodation rent chete Madam Speaker for a family of 4 zvinoreva kuti baba namai ava vati mimba imwe nevana vati mimba imwe chete ende ndeipima imba inowanikwa nerent inosvika $300 munyika muno saka zvavari kutaura honorable minister kuti poverty data line
Honorable Madzvanyi kana anga ine mubvunzo wenyu
mubvunza Madam Speaker ndiyei ndibvunze kana
muri kuramba muchitsanangura
ndoda kubvunzazve allow me to ask the question mubvunzo wangu ndokuti Madam Speaker zvinomeka sense here kuti poverty data line iri $201 iyo rent yemhuri ine vana 4 vasingatende kuba namai vana mimba imwe chete ichipfuura $200 ko chikafu ko school fees saka ndiri kubvunza wangu kwedza ndokuti poverty data line yawo $200 vari kuiwana kupi ndatenda Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much. I thank Honorable Chigandika for his passion and energy, but he's wrong. He's quite wrong because the poverty data line is $301 US$72, which is equivalent to 7,842 ZIG. So he's wrong to say it is 201. It is 301.72. I thank you.
Point of clarification, Madam Chair. Point of clarification. Go ahead.
Thank you. Honorable Minister has responded.
Yes,
Honorable
I just want a
Madzvanyi.
clarification.
There is no point of clarity. The
It's allowed. People were asking clarifications all along, and they were allowed. Because
The
now
minister-
Madzvanyi is not allowed.
You asked for a response from the minister.
Yes.
You sent your written question and he came back and he responded, meaning that he did a thorough research and has given you a response. There is no need for him to clarify further because the response has been very clear, Honorable Madzvanyi. May you allow us to proceed?
Madam Chair,
You have asked your supplementary question already.
clarification. Kona undrambiza sei vakutendera vakuita maclarification all along. Ndo pane mubvunzo wangu.
We have asked your supplementary question, Honorable Madzvanyi, and we allowed you to be very clear in your question. Honorable Gumende, supplementary.
Ngiyabonga phathi sihlalo ngibonga ithuba elinginikeze lona mina bengifuna ukuthi ngazisise ku minister kumbe ngithi ngidlulise lokho ukuthiza ukuthi $201 kumbe $301 elikhulume ngayo ngicabanga ukuthi nxa singakhangela indlela abantu abaphila ngayo phandle ayeneli le imali umbuzo wami ukuthi akula yini indlela kumbe amasu akhona kathesi elingabe liwamumethe wokuthi lisidingele bakithi lisingezelele okuncane even ifike ku500 ukuze abantu bakwanise ukuthi at least lawo babe lalapha bangaqalisela khona. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, ngiyambonga umhlonishwa uMagumede. Uthi yena ucela ukuthi singezelele ku poverty data le evele sesi yedlulise. Angithi sithe khona i-poverty data line iku $301.72. Thina siku 364 sesiyedlule. Kodwa yena uthi khona ucela ukuthi sidlulele phambili njalo. Ngimzwile sizenza khonokho. Yike sikwenzayo in the next abalanga la alandelayo kuzaba lombiko ukuthi ama civil servants imali zabo sezithuthukisiwe zaphezulu simzwile senza vele khonokho ngoba siyazithanda izisebenzi zethu. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you. Supplementary, Honorable Amason.
Mvunzo wangu kuna minister wangu uri wekutiwo wekuwedzera ndokuti minister vanogona kutibatsirawo here kuti 301 iyi inonge ichishandiswa zvinhu zvakaita sei kuti tizoti tasvika papoverty datum line kuti zvitibatsirewo kuti isusu vari kuno nevari vatiri kumirira vanzwisise kuti zvechokwadi minista vari kutaura zviro kwazvo zvemazviro kwazvo kuti mari iyoyo iri kukwana.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you. I thank Honorable Hamausa for that very important follow-up question. The $301 and 72 cents, which is the poverty datum line, is scientifically calculated. It is given. That's what the market, that's what the economy is telling us. It is not set by government, but what government does is then to respond, having known that information, is then to respond to make sure that we pay above that. And that's what we did. That's why our average pay is above, the minimum pay is $364 US. And as I said in response to the earlier question by Honorable Gumede, we are desirous to go further and pay even more, and that's the subject of the current discussions with our civil servants, and we're making announcements in the not so distant future. I thank him for the question.
Speaker,
thank you.
No, mubvunzo wandandabvunza mubato wechigaro ndokuti kana vapindura vachiti scientifically.
Order, Honorable Hamausa, handina kukutenderai. Minister vapamhinduro hapana need yekuti muite point of order on what the minister is responding to. Minister vakapindura mabvunza muchida kuwana mhinduro kuna minister.
Havana kupindura. Minister vatotaura kuti scientifically measured.
Ndo mhinduro kaya vanga vachikuudzai. Ndo mhinduro yanga vachikuudzai. Honorable Hamausa, you are out of order. Question 59, Honorable
Supplementary.
Supplementary questions Honorable Khatshwayo. Question 59, Honorable Madzivanyika.
Supplementary questions are enough, Madam Speaker.
Taita 3 already. Honorable Madzivanyika, question 59.
Question 59, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I thank Honorable Madzivanyika once again for that question where he seeks to ask the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion to apprise this House on the government's plans to extend the motor vehicle rebates to state-owned enterprises, SOEs such as ZIMRA, ZESA, TEL1 and NRZ. Honorable members may recall that the motor vehicle rebate scheme was introduced as a targeted intervention within the broader public service conditions of service framework. The policy objective was to provide relief to civil servants whose conditions of service remain comparatively modest relative to those prevailing in commercialized public entities such as ZESA, ZIMRA, and TEL1. State-owned enterprises operate under commercialized corporate governance and compensation frameworks, which are more competitive and are not aligned to the civil service salaries key scale. Extending the rebate to the state-owned enterprises would expand tax expenditures, undermine revenue mobilization efforts, and expand inequities within the broader public sector remuneration framework. Ordinarily, the tax principle of fairness is centered around treating taxpayers in similar circumstances equally. Hence, the differences in incomes or remuneration framework between civil servants and the envisaged categories should be a guide. Furthermore, most of the entities cited fall under government's investment portfolio, which is, or sovereign wealth fund, which is Mutapa. Well, except for ZIMRA, of course. ZESA, TEL1, and NRZ fall under Mutapa. And are expected to fund employee benefits from internally generated resources and should contribute dividends to the fiscus. Granting additional tax concessions would weaken Treasury's ongoing policy thrust to rationalize incentives and safeguard the fiscal space. It should also be noted that extending the rebate to state-owned enterprises would imply broad alignment of their conditions of service with those of civil service, which is inconsistent with their current commercial mandates. Accordingly, it is prudent that the proposal to extend the motor vehicle rebate scheme to state-owned enterprises be shelved in view of the above-mentioned principles. I thank you.
Thank you. Order. In terms of standing order number 68, time for questions with notice has expired.
Madam Speaker, ma'am, I move for the extension of questions with notice time.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Extension with how many minutes?
20 minutes. Thank you.
Who seconds?
I object. I second, Madam Speaker.
I second, Madam Speaker.
Question 60. We are extending with 20 minutes. Question 60, Honorable Madzwanyika.
Question 60, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, ma'am, again, I thank Honorable Madzwanyika for the question, which seeks to ask the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion to provide an update to the House on the statistics of total annual national revenue collections and the corresponding disbursements towards devolution for the years 2020 to 2025. The national annual, let me start that all over again. The total annual national revenue collection for the financial year 2020 was, I'll say it in ZIG, 183 billion ZIG, with support towards devolution amounting to 2 billion ZIG, representing 1.09%. As revenue increased significantly to 489 billion in 2021, devolution disbursements also rose to 8.1 billion ZIG equivalent, leading to a higher disbursement percentage of 1.65%. Furthermore, during the period of 2022, revenues surged to 2.04 trillion ZIG equivalent, and devolution support increased at a slower pace of 0.92%, amounting to 18.7 billion ZIG. In 2023, revenues skyrocketed to 16.8 trillion ZIG equivalent, with devolution disbursements reaching 141.8 billion ZIG. Despite the significant increase in devolution disbursements, the percentage of devolution support fell to 0.84%. The year 2024 presented a stark contrast as total revenues decreased to 116 billion ZIG, while devolution disbursement dropped drastically to 170.96 million ZIG, resulting in a disbursement support percentage of only 0.15%. However, in 2025, the financial landscape shifted again, with total revenue rebounding to 223 billion ZIG and disbursement rising to 1.9 billion ZIG, leading to an improvement in disbursement from 0.15% in 2024 to 1% in 2025. This is, however, this is depicted in some table, and I'll be submitting these responses in writing, summarizing what I've just gone through. I thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary, Honorable Madzwanyika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the Honorable Minister for his response. Indeed, he gave a list of amounts which have been provided for under devolution. My follow-up question, Madam Speaker, relates to Section 300, subsection 3 of our national constitution, which reads, not less than 5% of the national revenues raised in any financial year must be allocated to the provinces and local authorities as their share in that year. And I underline the word must be allocated. And now, Madam Speaker, ma'am, if you look at this, the trend as provided by the Honourable Minister, all the disbursements towards devolution did not reach the 5% up as required by the Constitution. Can the Honourable Minister explain the reasons for these inconsistencies and inconsistent with the national Constitution? I thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Yes, the gap in terms of what's required by the Constitution being set, the ceiling being set at 5% of national revenues, that gap between what was actually disbursed is explained by the fact that the disbursements are driven by identified and expenditure or investment ready project. And it basically follows what we call a pull and push effect, or our approach, where the pull means that there has to be demand or request for the resources at that local authority, local level, and we cannot just push. There has to be a pull. That's how it works. So it's quite an arduous process. It takes time. We as Treasury have tried hard to also capacitate local authorities who originate most of these projects to, work out how best to get their projects to be ready to receive funding. It's not automatic, and we often say that for very successful constituencies, you find that the local MP working with the CEO of the local authority, the chief executive officer, maybe even the village headman, and also the chiefs, the local traditional leaders, should really come together. And we find that in those constituencies where that happens, disbursements move faster. And I've got clear examples where this has been the case, but I don't want to, single out those. I know them. So these are some of the reasons that it's a push and pull approach. It's not a mechanical push of resources from Treasury onto local authorities that are not ready. But we've said that going forward, we just want to work harder to improve this ratio as we drive towards the full 5%. Madam Speaker, ma'am, I can say that even where we've just dispersed 1% or 0.5%, we've seen the positive impact of these funds, the differences that they've made, and I think at some point it will be necessary to just track the impact of these funds, no matter how small, how they've changed people's lives in those areas, and Parliament ought to know about that and ought to appreciate those examples. Thank you very much.
Supplementary.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Mangwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. As I was following the Minister, mentioning that the failure to reach the threshold is resting upon the users, the local authorities that are supposed to receive. There are municipalities and local authorities that had multi-year projects that had been funded before, and for a year or two, nothing came. How is that explained when already there is a project and the project has concurrence from Treasury and from the parent ministry?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. That specific example that Honourable has raised, and I thank him for that, is explained by availability of cash. As you know, Madam Speaker, ma'am, everyone should know, we operate on a quasi-cash budget system. We live within our means, so if the cash is not available for disbursement, even if it's clear what it is for on the ground in terms of the multi-year project, that cash won't be extended, won't be dispersed because of its unavailability. So that's the reason that we operate under a tight cash flow situation. But also, if you look at our cash flow cycle, Madam Speaker, ma'am, we tend to get most of our cash in the last quarter of the year. That's where we get the bulk. So you find that in the first quarter, second quarter, cash flows are below, typically below target, and then they creep up in the third quarter, and then we're awash in the last quarter when disbursements can't be done quickly, and so forth. So part of this is about trying to smooth those cash flows, an issue that I've addressed here before, that this requires generally perhaps that we should borrow against cash flows in the fourth quarter, borrow earlier, and then be able to pay off in the last quarter. But then those borrowings then will allow us to be able to fund these multi-year projects that are already identified on the ground. We'll seek to do better here in terms of cash flow management, but we hear him well on this matter. I thank you.
Supplementary.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Bajila.
Ngiyabonga Mgcinisela. Umphathi Ntambo ukhulume ngokuthi izimali eziyake zihanjiswe ngaphansi kohlelo lwe-devolution ziyabe zincane. Kodwa isisekelo sombuso simbamba ngamandla ukuthi athathe okuhlanu ekhulwini ahambise ezabelweni. Nxa isisekelo sombuso sisibamba ngamandla ukuthi lokhu sikwenze, kuhamba njani ukuthi sibuye sesiza lapha endlini ecolekileyo ukuthi sizochasisa ukuthi kungani singenzanga lokhu okuthiwa sikwenze isisekelo sombuso, bese sisandisa isilungu esokuveza lokho okuthiwa sikwenze isisekelo sombuso, sigcine senze lokhu lalokhuyana kube kanti sephule isisekelo sombuso elizwe leZimbabwe. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga, Madam Speaker. Ngiyambonga Honorable ngombuzo wakhe. Honorable through Speaker, ungathatha umgwaqo weBhayibridge usiza eHarare. Umgwaqo lwana udlule ezigabeni eziningi. Kodwa bese sikhohlwa khonokho. So ungani umgwaqo lo umgwaqo nje ophonga udlule ebantwini ungasowa abantu. Umgwaqo lo ngowethu sonke lawa indaba singawufaki ku devolution. Sithi khona sokufike ke Masingo, sokufike ke Bhayibridge. Bese ngisedlula njalo. Angithi umgwaqo okobulawa lese Victoria Falls siyawulungisa mama. Lawani umgwaqo nxa siwukhangele umgwaqo wethu njalo. Abantu abasemguza, abantu abaselupane, abantu abasejotsholo, abantu abasewange kumele bawubuke njengomgwaqo wabo la udevolved unjalo. Ngangizibona izinqola zabo le lamadonka le Nkomo ziwusebenzisa umgwaqo lo zizihambela nje. Siyakukhohlwa khonokho. Kodwa umgwaqo yonke le isebenzisa imali evela ku treasury evela ku hulumende. So xa sithi khona imali iba lutshwana kulokunye sikwenzayo okuqhakathekileyo okwethu sonke singakukhohlwa khonokho. Hayi kodwa ngiyambonga ngombuzo wakhe.
On a point of order, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
On a point of order, Madam Chair.
On a point of what?
Yes. Of order. On what the Honourable Minister just said.
Honorable Matsanyika.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My point of order, Madam Chair, is the Honourable Minister confirming that he has failed to follow this constitution, hiding behind the fact that we have developed roads which are benefits everyone. Is it confirmation? Can the Honourable Minister confirm in this House that he has failed to follow this constitution that we have? Thank you.
Honorable Matsanyika, I think you're out of order. Because the Honorable Minister is given a response and to what you have asked. Question 61, Honorable Matsanyika.
Question 61, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, ma'am, I thank Honorable Matsanyika again for the question. He is very prolific with questions. He is asking the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion to update the House of the total revenue collections for the years 2024, 2025 arising from the airtime levy and the sugar. He says sugar tax. We don't have a sugar tax. We have a sugar content in beverages tax. But this is my response. On the a special excise duty on airtime, Madam Speaker. We have in 2024, we collected an equivalent of 114,857,827. In 2025, we collected 132,390,188. But I must hasten to say that the 2025 figure is still going through an audit process, so it is a ballpark figure, but I think the message is not lost. The law mandates Treasury, Madam Speaker, ma'am, to take 50% of the airtime levy and pass it on to the health fund for funding the Ministry of Health. So we passed on 57,428,911 US dollars in 2024 to the health fund. In 2025, we passed on 66,195,094 again to the health fund. I now move on to the special tax on the sugar content in beverages. In 2024, we collected 29,169,209. And then in 2025, we collected, again, these are preliminary subject to verification and audit. We collected 59,416,884. Since he requested the total, in 2024, the total from these two is 144,027,036. This is for 2024. In 2025, the total is 191,807,072. I thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Honorable Matswanyika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister once again for his response, which was comprehensive. My first question, Madam Speaker, relates to collections from sugar, excise duty on sugar content tax. Madam Speaker, of the 29 million collected in 2024 and the 59 million collected in 2025, we have not seen tangible results, particularly on the acquisition of cancer equipment machinery, upon which this fund was formed. So, my follow-up question therefore is, how much of this money collected from sugar content tax was given the Ministry of Health for the purpose of acquiring cancer machines? I thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, ma'am, all these resources. The Honorable Zivanyiga says that he hasn't seen tangible progress. It has taken time for the Ministry of Health to organize things and to make sure that they're ready to receive these cancer machines. The process of acquiring these machines from abroad has taken quite a while, but I'm happy to report that they have reported to me that they are making progress, that they will start the installation at Pararenyatwa and then remove the current machine from Pararenyatwa and then hand it over to another hospital which is desperate for this older machine. The same thing applies to Mpilo. Again, the orders are on the way and installation will occur. And again, that machine will then be packed up and sent to some other hospital. It just looks like the process of acquiring and installing these machines takes time in terms of the technical work that's so required. I'm not an expert in that. I also, take that as given, but the resources are for cancer machines. We're also happy to cover cancer drugs as well. We are making very good progress. And generally, Madam Speaker, we're making progress in carving out funding for the health sector. We are a leader in Africa by far. I repeat, Zimbabwe is a leader in Africa by far in thinking of ways to fund our health sector. Airtime levy, sugar-coated beverages tax, gambling tax, and other things. AIDS levy. AIDS levy is a world-class example of how Zimbabwe has led the world in dealing with that scourge, and other countries are copying us. So I can assure Honorable Zivanika that while he's concerned, he should sleep well, that we are a leader in this area. I thank him for the question.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Mosu.
My supplementary to the Honorable Minister is concerned with the withdrawal of the US funding on our health sector, to ask the Minister if there are any government plans to increase the allocation they give or they allocate to the health fund from 50% on the airtime levy maybe to 70 or 80% as a way of covering the gap left by the withdrawal of the US on funding our health sector. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, ma'am, before I joined government, I used to be an advisor to the Global Fund in Geneva. It's part of my portfolio. And for the longest while, I used to write that globally, funding to the health sector from institutions such as those, from governments, from PEPFAR, from so forth, is going to decline. But of course, it moves even faster than my prediction. And, it has declined quite severely. So when I've been proposing these taxes, sin taxes on alcohol, on cigarettes, obesity, and so forth, I know what I'm talking about. It's subject that I understand very, very, very well. I can say that with authority. So when you say that the cutbacks from donors perhaps will require us to increase funding and so forth, the funding is there already. We are prepared. We prepared 2 years ago. We are prepared. We prepared 2 years ago. We will fill that gap. We will not have much challenges. Of course, more money is always a good idea. We cannot refuse money, So I will not refuse money if it's available, but we are ready for that dwindling of aid in general to Africa, which is upon us right now. I thank him for the supplementary question.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, I kindly request you to submit a written response for questions 62 to 65. Our extension time is expired. I recognize the Government Chief Whip.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
4 seconds.
I second, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved that the House do now adjourn. Is there any debate? I put the question that the House do now adjourn. Those who are of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. Ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed, and the House is adjourned. To what day, Government Chief Whip?
To tomorrow, Madam Speaker.
The House is adjourned to tomorrow.